changes for today, I believe, on all your contracts.
Your old man looks at me and says, when are you gonna get through that thick head of yours that
He's when it's his time to talk today,
Yep,
you ready?
we're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to get the meeting started, not the movie, the meeting. So if you'd please stand, and we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, everybody. On behalf of the commissioners, Commissioner Candelaria, Commissioner Till, myself, Shaq and John and Kim, we welcome you here. First thing on the agenda is the minutes. Commissioners, have you had the opportunity to read the minutes, and do you have a recommendation?
I have.
I have
and,
also.
I see no additions or corrections, so I move that we accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, June 9th, 2020.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the proceedings of the Montezuma County Board of Commissioners for June 9th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have planning, so if they would come forth.
Morning, Jane and Don.
Good morning.
Morning, guys.
Guys. Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good.
Kim, this is kind of...
Sorry, it's page 5.
Oh, okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Kim gets to go first.
Okay. Let me get here. Commissioner Supla.
Here.
Commissioner Attell.
Present.
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney Baxter.
Here.
Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a subdivision amendment application for a proposed industrial planned unit development to lot number 30 of the Blue Door subdivision submitted by Brian and Kathy Lyons on property located at 24227 Road G.2, Cortez, Colorado. Located north of Road G.2, east of Highway 160-491, situated in Section 3, Township 35 North, Range 16 West, NMPM. The hearing will be held Tuesday, June 16, 2020 at 9 a.m. Commissioners' Hearing Room, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Department, Room 270, County Administrative Building, Cortez, Colorado, or accessed online at http://montezumacounty.org, Web Departments Planning. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. This file can be inspected in the Planning Department during regular office hours. Dated this 26th day of May, 2020, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, May 27th, 2020, and this public hearing is postponed from April 7th, 2020.
Thank you, Ms. Purcell. Mrs. Purcell, you have got our public meeting open. So Don, do you have any
Yeah, Kathy, you want-
details?
Kathy Lyons is here.
Hi, Kathy.
Good morning.
We have since had the property surveyed. The driveway for the middle location will go between the green building and the white-looking stuff there will be moved.
We've got that drawing in Dropbox, so Shaq can draw it up. This is lot 30 in the Blue Door subdivision. It's zoned heavy industrial, and they're just looking to divide that into a 3-lot industrial PUD. So there's the revision with a driveway that enters each lot, and they abandoned the eastern driveway access that originally went into the lot from the east. So they'll have the 3 driveways from the south.
So this is the way it is now, instead of that one coming through that other lot going, the
Right,
long
yeah,
curve. Gotcha.
yeah,
That-
the
I was gonna
middle
say, that
lot
didn't make
enters-
sense to me, yeah. so.
Right.
Okay.
And, yeah, Lyons got with Rob and got that all worked out, just as far as drainage or some kind of drainage. There's not much drainage in there, so
Pretty flat, yeah.
it wasn't a big issue other than just trying to make it all work with what was there.
They're all 1-acre lots, pretty much, more or less, yeah.
Mhm.
Anything
All
to add,
right.
Commissioner Candelaria?
No, it's pretty straightforward to me now that the driveways are all,
Lined up.
I mean, they're all coming off of G.2, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so I don't,
And planning and zoning, they had a unanimous recommendation for approval based on squaring out the driveways.
Okay.
That was their only condition to address.
Mhm.
All right. At this time, we'll open it up to public comment. If you would like to comment on this proposal, if you would come to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of the public hearing and go back to the commissioners for additional discussion or recommendation.
looks good to me.
Okay.
I don't have anything additional to add,
Oh, no.
so I would move that we accept the proposed industrial planned unit development lot 30 of the Blue Door subdivision submitted by Brian and Kathy Lyons on property located at 24227 Road G.2, Cortez, Colorado, located north of Road G.2 and east of Highway 160-491.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the proposed industrial plan unit development to lot 30 of the Blue Door subdivision submitted by Brian and Kathy Lyons on property located at 24227 Road G.2, Cortez, Colorado, located north of Road G.2, east of Highway 161-491. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. There you go.
Thank you.
This time we will close the public hearing. Thank you. You have a nice day as well. At this time, we'll have public comment. If anybody would like to comment to the commissioners, if you would come up to the podium and
Thanks
state
for
your...
planning.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys.
Thank you, guys.
State your name and address.
Be sure and turn that microphone on, Alan.
Thank you very much, folks. First, I wanted to just thank
Name and address,
I'm
please.
sorry, yes. Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21, Lewis. I want to thank the commissioners for providing the opportunity for the candidate forum last night here in the chambers. I think it was a good forum, good responses from the candidates. It was a good place to be able to hold that. Only comments, I don't know if any of you had a chance to view the YouTube stream of that, but I will say from that, I'm not sure if the candidates really want to sit in your chairs. and that was from the YouTube. So once you see that, you'll understand. Maybe not very comfortable. They're not just from what comes at you, but just the chairs themselves. But I do want to thank you very much, and it is important to know that those candidates understand the jobs that you have. Not as fully as you guys do, but they do understand that, and so I want to thank you very much.
Can I make one suggestion
Yes, sir.
on that? And I know that we're done for this election, but in future elections, I've never seen a presidential forum, but I've seen a presidential debate. And I really feel like if they were debates versus forums in the future, you can really find out what the candidate's feeling, because if it's kind of scripted to say if it's a debate, and they can be debate. It doesn't have to get vicious, but somebody can correct somebody or give a different point of view on it. I think that would help us in the future in this county.
And I think that's been the situation that occurred from the last candidate commissioner race as well. That kind of has come up. And I think the only thing that I will say about the forums is that at least from the one last night, the questions were some that were given to them that they had no idea what was going to be asked. And
Right.
so it had to come from their own thoughts and feelings of wanting to be in that chair. But yes, sometimes we do need to know that they are a better candidate, they feel, over who is running against them. So yes. One last thing, and then I'll leave because I've only got 30 seconds. I went to the flag ceremony this weekend, Sunday, at the Elks. I thought that was a very good ceremony. Maybe because of COVID, there wasn't very many people there. I don't know, but I wish there had been a bigger turnout. They held it inside. I think that was a change. They were probably going to do it out. The wind was a factor for doing it outside, but it was a good ceremony. So I wish more of the leadership of the town would have been there too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Anybody else would like to come up to the podium and state your name and address on public comment?
My name's Dan Newby, and I'm at 27487 Road H.6. I'm a disabled Army combat vet that is from Florida, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Moved here 7 years ago with my 9-year-old son, Aaron, and my wife. A few months after moving here, my son was diagnosed with AML leukemia. We lived in the Children's Hospital of Denver for a little over a year before he passed away at 10 years old. A few months after that, returning to Cortez, we adopted 2 girls, and a year later, 2 boys. During our fight with cancer, my employer in Durango let me go. I moved here as an environmental manager for the oil and gas. Anyway, after returning here, I started Cortez Home and Office in our area because a lot of people had mentioned that we need an honest and fair contractor in this area. Just prior to the virus, I had hired 6 employees because I just flat out had too much work. The reason I'm appearing before you today is to discuss the Montezuma County bidding process. I was awarded the fairgrounds remodel bid. This bid was, I'm sorry.
Take your time.
The bid that I had turned in was just for labor, and I had forgotten to write down the total amount, including the materials. This bid has changed daily, and the morning of your meeting, that when you reviewed the bid, I had already changed it 3 times. Anyway, I forgot to write the total. So the 56,000 that was on there was just the labor, had nothing to do with the materials. Now the materials included 2 granite countertops, 2 commercial doors with closers and hardware, bathroom mirrors, shower vents, sewer drain pipe, baby changing units, concrete stain, 5 windows, all flooring, all paint, wood benches for the showers, 2 complete shower enclosures with all fixtures, solid plastic toilet partitions in both bathrooms, shower curtains, all toilets, urinal, bathroom sinks, and a split-level drinking fountain, and 5 electric heating units. The cost of these units was almost $60,000. Is my time up?
Why don't you go a little bit longer, but
Multiple items were being changed daily, even after the bids were turned in. The day that you opened and reviewed my bid, I had changed it 3 times, just minutes prior, and had overlooked totaling my bid. With all of these materials supplied costing $60,000, there's no way that we would be able to do it for $56,000. So looking at that right off the bat tells you that it's not right. The word total was written on the bid, but I neglected to write a figure next to it. In the rush, I had missed it. Now, during the last meeting, some things were assumed about that. It was stated by Mike that I might have been over my head with the fairgrounds. I have 40 years construction experience. 6 of these years were as a division manager with Lennar Homes, a national home builder. For 4 of those years, my division was ranked #1 within Lennar. Lennar was also ranked #1 within the country. So for 4 years, I was had the #1 division home builder in the United States. I had a monthly budget of $1.6 million. The ratings and everything were rated by J.T. Powers and others. And I mean, does that sound like I'm over my head with remodeling 2 bathrooms at the fairgrounds? No. It was also why I didn't bid, sorry. Oh, it was also mentioned why I didn't bid on the senior center, which was just labor only and included no materials. I did plan to bid on the senior center, but I couldn't. That bid was supposed to be turned in on March 13th. My bid was complete and I was ready to turn it in. However, we declared a national disaster on March 11th and everything was closed. Online, on the Montezuma County website, it mentioned that all of the bids and everything were postponed. So I waited until it cleared. But that's when I found out that somebody had already been hired to do the senior center, and I don't know how we did that if nobody bidded on it. It doesn't sound, it's just not fair, it's not professional or ethical. And just so you know, my bid was $20,000 under what the contractor is for the senior center that you guys did hire.
can we address that?
Sure.
So we did have a bid, correct, for the senior center?
Right, it did go out to bid, it was advertised, and we have the documentation of where it was advertised. And I
Right.
can't speak to, because it was postponed at one time, so not looking at the website, I can't speak to that, if that got changed or not, but it was re-advertised on the website.
It
So
was
that.
re-advertised. I think in March was the second advertisement of it. We did only receive 1 bid on that. And I think while it may be true that nationally things were declared an emergency on March 11th, the Polis didn't begin shutting down until March 17th, and we weren't completely closed until March 19th.
Well, on the
If I
county
remember my
website,
time.
and Don, you had signed it, and that was for Montezuma County.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure what the bidding dates were, but I know that the state wasn't closed till March 17th, so,
I have a copy of it if you guys need it.
yeah, okay.
So those were all re-advertised.
Okay, all right, but still, you know. It was also mentioned that, thank God we didn't start the project at the fairgrounds, which was the demo that I had planned on starting on the 8th. It was my decision not to start that project on the 8th because of all the changes and the delays and uncertainty and not getting questions answered from the county. I didn't feel comfortable starting it. I knew that, and I was told by Justin that we were going to have the fair on the 24th. The time frame to get everything done, and especially get all the materials in time, I was really worried about, so I didn't start because I was afraid that if I demoed and we didn't have bathrooms and we started the fair, that would be an issue. So I didn't start, and I didn't want to start until that stuff was resolved and straightened out. I'm trying to look after the county.
Mr. Newby,
Yes,
who were you directing questions to that were not getting answered?
Justin.
Thank you.
He was the only person I knew of, the only person that called. And I had
So there
went
was a
to,
date where all questions were supposed to be submitted, and then they were to be answered, which the questions that I saw, they were all answered. So I'm not really sure
right,
where
wait,
you're
everything
going
kept changing though.
with what changed after that, because nothing
The
changed from the commissioners.
toilets, the countertops.
Those were all decided prior to the bid date.
Talking to Justin on the 8th, it was not. We still were unsure. As a matter of fact, that day, he also discovered that it was the county that was supposed to purchase the range hood. The county had, well, according to Justin, the county had thought that that was my responsibility. It was not. Then there was one other, the heaters. I had thought that we had 3 heaters to be installed, but it turns out it was 6. That was an oversight on my part. So like I told Justin, I said, I'll eat it. You know, I'll put in the heaters for free because I missed it on the bid, and I wasn't going to raise the bid because of
I think
that.
if you look at the bid form, your bid form was incomplete. It asks for quantity specific, it asks for item, and then it asks for a price. You can't just, when an incomplete bid form comes in and it just says L next to it, that's not what it asks for. On the bid form, it asks for labor, material, and equipment.
Right.
to
On
provide each
everything
one
that
of
was
those.
listed as an L, the county was supplying the materials. I was only
I
supplying labor.
understand that. So if they're on the first page, there are 10 line items that we want to pull out of the project, how are we supposed to know what that cost is when it says L? Because we might have had our own guys do that.
Okay?
So it's an incomplete bid form. We have decided it's going back out to bid. You are more than welcome to bid it again, but that's fine, your choice. But the bid form is real specific. In the paragraph, when you start filling it out, it never states to put an L by it. Labor, equipment, and material, and a cost. Real specific.
Okay. Well, like I said that morning, I had changed my bid 3 times because
Well-
of changes from the county. So, I mean,
Un-
I'm sorry I
until
didn't have
it's
time.
open, yeah, you can change it 100 times if you want to.
No,
but
it's
when
not
you-
that I
when you
wanted to, it's that
issue
I
it-
had to. I was asked to.
Who asked you to?
Janine.
What, was that after, so I'm missing something here.
So when did
What
the
was
architect
changed?
become involved in changing your bid order? When did she-
Well, as according to the website and everything, she was the contact if you had any questions or anything on the bid,
You just said you
We were to
asked
contact
Justin,
her.
so who
Yeah.
are you contacting, Justin or the architect?
the architect.
Okay, you just said you were contacting Justin.
Well, I was,
So
I was as well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I was in
It's
discussions
out-
and
it's
had
out to
meetings with
bid.
both.
It is out to bid again.
Yeah.
And if you fill out a bid form, please fill it out correctly.
yeah.
I got a couple of questions for you. So, because, well, I'm not very fond of our architect, and I'll tell you why. We built this building right here. We remodeled this building for $700 and some thousand, and we didn't have an architect. And we was able to do that, and now we've got an architect that costs us $6,000. When I seen your bid for $56,000, I'm like, my gosh, the architect is 10% of the bid. I didn't realize. And if we're paying somebody $6,000, why did they not catch the bid if they're the one that's supposed to review all of the information?
From what I am taking, that's what if I'm hearing you properly, the architect asked you about a revision, or did you miss something? Is that what I'm hearing?
About changes that I don't know how the changes were brought up, but it was changes that she had made, and then she informed me so that I could make
The architect
changes.
can make no changes.
Well, I don't know if she was
That-
directed to or
So
by
was it
who,
a-
I don't
no.
know.
When it goes out to bid, it goes out to bid with the specific documents, and the documents were there. So the only thing that she can do is ask for, did you actually include this, or did you not include this? That's the only questions they can ask.
So,
Okay, so
I
nobody-
do want to say this, though, and I forwarded it to all of the commissioners. We all apparently missed the email the same day, where Janine, the day we were awarding the bid, did ask for a revised bid in an email, and I don't think any of us caught it because we were all copied on it, but we were starting our meeting, so I don't think any of us were aware that she was asking for a revised bid. Or at least I wasn't. Maybe I should have been paying more attention to my emails that morning.
Which doesn't negate the fact that it was thrown out and it's out for rebid. It doesn't matter.
But it does negate some of the responsibility of this thing not being done
But
on
when you're
us.
asking for revisions, it can't be revised after it's bid.
Well, then why do we still have this person
That's-
hired
that
as our
comes as-
architect?
that comes
when
out as
apparently
a
they don't know what
change
the hell they're
order.
doing?
Again, I can't tell you what the revisions were because I haven't seen them. I don't
There's
know
a
what
few.
that conversation was.
Yeah, there's
So
a
what
few,
was the
and it changes the
conversation?
money a lot.
Yeah, what
you
was,
know, in the bid.
I tell you,
What
I've
was the
not
I mean,
heard
just
on
as
this
one
yet, so I
example,
would like
the
to
granite
know-
countertops originally were bid out to be concrete, and
That was on
stain.
the prints.
Right,
So that
But it
should
was
have been
changed
included
to-
in the bid to concrete. They were on the prints.
yeah, and it was changed to granite. Now, I don't know if somebody
I
was
don't think
directing
so.
the
None of us
architect
ever
to make these
changed it.
changes or not, I don't know. That's between you and her. But all the information that I had, she was the contact to do everything with, to ask any questions or anything. So that's who I was dealing with. Nobody else was listed for me to contact to ask.
That's correct.
So that's it.
But why were you
So-
contacting Justin?
After I was awarded the bid, Justin had called and we started setting up meetings to go over everything, making sure we were on the same page. And that's when we discovered that some of the things were not included or changed, or the county was supposed to supply it but wasn't aware of it. So it's just making sure, I wanted to hit the ground running with no problems and to be done within the time frame that we had set up. That's why I was dealing with Justin.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry that we failed you because we just did a $700,000 deal and never had a problem like this. We can't even do it 2 bathrooms without having this kind of problem for somebody that we're paying $6,000 to. That
Actually, it's not $6,000. It was 55 or something like that. We can pull it up, but it was under that.
$5,500.
But
That
it
when we
is,
asked
the
them to
bid
do a
form-
convention center, we
The
said
bid
we've
form
got
was
6,000.
incorrect. We looked at it. It was incorrect and incomplete.
I'm telling
That's
you,
why it's thrown
we're both
out,
at
sir.
fault.
So
He's at
it is
fault,
out
we're
for
at fault.
bid. Please bid it again if you
Yeah.
feel comfortable with it. And if you don't, that's fine too. That is a personal choice. But the bid form has to be completed entirely.
Yeah, that's fine.
One thing
It's
about
too
being a leader, when you make
confusing
a
and
mistake, you
asked
should need to
backwards for me.
admit it. And I want to tell you, we made a mistake, and I apologize.
There were mistakes on both parts, and
Yes.
don't,
And that's why we're rebidding it.
right, so hopefully you'll be a bit more diligent in your bid and not be leaving stuff off of a bid that you should be submitting. And we will have a complete list of what is the county's responsibility and what is the contractor's responsibility. And I think that will all be pretty evident in this new process. And like Commissioner Candelaria said, you're more than welcome to redo it or leave it alone, whichever you choose to do.
I think with all the confusion, I don't really want to jump into this one
Well,
again.
good. Thank you very
I've got
much.
6
Thank you.
full-time employees
Well,
that
thank
have
you.
That's
6
your
spouses,
choice.
7
You don't
kids.
have to bid it.
Yeah.
You don't
Well,
have to
I mean,
bid
I
it.
had this scheduled. I was awarded it, I was ready to go, and then it's pulled out from under me. Now I'm rushing around
No.
trying to get jobs to keep
Don't-
my guys
don't- Don't
busy.
be saying it's pulled out, but you neglected to put in your part of the bid, sir. You missed
So
on
you
your
were
bid.
aware of that and awarded me that bid.
You want us to hold you to that bid?
I guarantee you're going to pay more when you go to redo it. My total was 122,000.
No, your
Watch what
total
you
was
spend.
56,000 you sent to us.
No, with the materials, the
I-
materials numbers are
I've got-
written on there.
I have got the page that shows total at the bottom, $56,000.
The 56,000 is not written to at the total. The total's below that. And
So
I forgot to
again,
write down the
my-
materials
my point
in addition to
is
the
this
labor.
was for labor, material, and equipment to do the job. The first sentence in the bid form
Says all of
states that. It was an incomplete bid form.
And the light
And it
items
was
that were
thrown out.
materials, I did write the material cost in there. It is on that line. I just forgot to add up the total at the end. That is it. So you have the material prices, and you have my total labor prices.
We have put it out for bid. I wish you would
Okay.
put it, the one thing that I
That's
would
fine.
say
Good
about
luck with it.
Mike saying that you didn't have the credentials, we had the same thing happen with the flume. Mike has no right to say if you're good enough to do the job or not.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that. We had a local that ended up doing the flume that we had expert after expert telling us, well, they are local and they don't have the expertise to redo the flume. And they were wrong.
They did it just
I have all the confidence in the world that you could have did that job, and I wish you would rebid it, but we are in the rebidding process, and that's where we're at.
All right, good luck with that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else, public comment? All right, seeing none, we will go to the 911 board discussion on the purchase of some radios, some emails that's been going back and forth with the commissioners and everybody else. Hi, Lori. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Lori.
It's a lot easier being a cowboy than a commissioner, I can tell you that.
A lot less complicated, ain't it? A lot less complicated.
Okay, fill us in.
So fill you in. And I did send out an email and CC'd you guys, but sent out an email to all of the users to the 911 Authority Board agreement to get their approval for this and kind of explain the issues we're having. I was hoping to delay purchase of the radios until next year when I knew we would have
The funds
funding already built up, at least for a lease purchase option. And it wasn't the past 3 weeks, but last month in a 3-week period, my radios went down three times for 3 different issues. One was the Pleasant View EMS radio went down in our back room. Turned out that it was a power supply issue, so that my power supplies are apparently old enough that they're starting to create issues. The next time we had the Montezuma Fire 800 megahertz consolette, which is the radio in the back room, it went down. We had to send it off for repair. In the meantime, I did have an extra consolette that we could fill in for that Montezuma Fire while it was out for repairs. And then this last time that they went down, which concerns me the most, it was all 4 radios in dispatch just shut off. They did come back on, but they can't tell me why they went down to start with, the radio guys. So that's very concerning. They were probably only down for 2 to 3 seconds, but 2 to 3 seconds, if you listen to my recording, a lot can be said in 2 to 3 seconds, like send me help. So it's concerning that these radios now are like I told you before, they're beyond maintenance. Motorola doesn't supply parts for them anymore, and even my radio techs, I'm not sure how well schooled they are, because we lost our radio techs in Durango that were the ones that installed our system, and they knew it right and left and up and down and around.
And they're gone?
And they're gone. They're retired.
Who do we use now, Lori, for your radio techs?
We're using Digicom. They purchased mobile radio in Durango, so we're using Digicom for that. And I have to say and they have to make a living, but but they're quite a bit more expensive than mobile radio was. I think they were more like willing to help us out, where Digicom, they're a bigger company and they're in it to make money, which I guess that's what you do when you have a business.
Yeah. So looking at the emails, I think everybody was on the same conclusion as to go ahead and order the radios. But my question is the finances, as far as define that just a little bit more, because I think obviously the radios are an urgent matter now. So they
Well,
need to be taken care of.
So the lease purchase, we can, and it's, let's see. So Motorola will carry a lease purchase on those. Now we'll own them at the end. For the lease rate is 3.15%. So our payments would be 3 payments of $143,245. And I did the math on that. I think that cost us about between $25,000 and $30,000 then to do the lease as opposed to purchasing them outright. We right now don't have the money to purchase them outright. So one option might be that we lease them for a year and then come October of next year, or I guess actually that lease would be a year from when we signed the contract. So a year from today or whenever we would.
And you're allowed to do that. You can go
Yeah.
ahead and pay them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No penalty by
No,
doing that? Okay.
it's not supposed to be any penalty.
Yeah,
and I can confirm
make
that.
sure of that.
We
I
would
will
just pay that
confirm that.
interest for that first year.
Right.
And then
But
pay them off.
sometimes those lease
Yeah.
deals, if you pay them off early, you pay a
Oh, you pay the
penalty.
whole amount.
You
It
pay a
says in there
penalty for
there's no
that.
prepayment penalty.
Yeah,
Okay.
just make sure in their contract. John.
But I didn't, I also didn't get the impression though, I mean, is that as good of a deal as only doing a lease for a year? And then negotiating a purchase price, I mean, often when you lease things at the end of the term of the lease, if you have the choice to purchase it, they're charging you more than if you would have just purchased it outright. And I don't know the answers to those things.
Yeah, and I can check on that, and I don't think that's the case with this.
They're just charging a carrying charge to do it. I
Right.
don't think there's any kind of
And-
balloon or anything on it.
And
yeah.
Motorola's wanting to sell radios right now because
Sure.
of COVID. I mean, they've been down just like everybody else. But they did send out originally a deal where if we could purchase them by June 22nd, which is next week, then it's 0% financing for that first year. So if I can get in under that deal,
Yeah, so
I'm going to push them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Motorola, since they're a bigger company, they tend to, if you push just a little bit, they will work with you some.
So, she's right in the fact that we are just shy of having enough to totally purchase this. There's just give or take 400,000 in the 911 fund right now. The increase in price that the board approved goes to $1.40 beginning July 1st. The first payment of this term would not be till July of next year, which would give the 911 surcharge enough time to build up to make that first payment, and then the following 2 payments after that. So there will be enough funds in here to purchase the radios.
Well, what would be nice from my standpoint is if Motorola is going to give us this year, they're going to give us a year lead time before our first payment is due. If she can connoiter this to a 0% interest charge on that first, we can pay them off next year with no interest, no penalties, no nothing, and no payments or anything. So it gives us a year to take that fund and build it with that $1.40, and basically this deferred 1-year deferred lease payment will give us an opportunity to pay them off at no additional cost to us. I think it's a brilliant idea, and I think you need to work them on that 0% interest for that first year,
Yeah.
and then we can pay them off in July of next year.
Do they have the radios ready to go? What's your wait time?
And see, and I can't speak to that. I don't know that if they have the radios ready to go. Usually they have to build them, and it takes about 30
month.
days delivery.
So it's
So,
not, so you're not looking at a tremendously long time, 60 days, maybe 30 to
30 to
120
60.
days. something
Yeah.
like that.
And like I said, if they've been out of work and
They're
they may
looking-
be right on top of it and get them out even quicker than that and get them in there installed.
So I failed to mention that right now we are the 911 board.
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a decision that is made, it's going to be the 911 board and
Yeah.
not the commissioners. So
And-
John, do we?
Right.
Good enough. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think before, and you guys have never done it, but before when Tom was the county administrator, they would always recess from the regular meeting and open the 911 authority board.
Just make the
but-
announcement like a formality, like we do for the Board of Health or whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
For-
I just made the announcement.
Yep.
We're-
Yes, you
And then we
did.
have some committee members here. I don't know if anybody else wants to talk about this. It looks like we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think in your letters, you got a lot of responses from all of your
The only
board
people
people.
that I didn't get a response from, and the sheriff may speak to them as far as the radios go, was the town of Dolores. I don't know, and the U Mountain Tribe and the Mesa Verde, but I wouldn't expect them to.
They're not gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any further discussion, commissioners?
No, I read all the emails, and with that type of a solution, I think it's okay
It's
to go ahead and
it's
get
long
'em-
overdue.
get 'em
I'm
coming.
glad we're gonna be in a position to be able to do this for you,
To do
Lori,
this,
because it's
yeah.
long overdue, yeah.
I think it'll make I'm hoping it'll make a difference in our communication.
Yeah,
So-
and hopefully maybe,
And at least we'll have radios to talk on.
So-
maybe make it better for your dispatcher so they'll stay in there with you a little
Yeah,
bit longer too.
that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
That should,
I would like to move that this board give Lori Johnson the authority to make a lease and purchase agreement with Motorola Radio Company for the purchase of the, I don't know if I can name the system,
the MCC 7500.
MCC 7500. Could you go back up to that total amount for a total balance of $403,665 if she's able to get the 0% interest on that first year's lease and pay it off next year.
Second.
Motion and second is the 911 board to lease purchase the MCC 7500 radio units for our dispatch center in the amount of $403,665. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah, Larry Don will sign that, I think, as chairman.
Well, I don't know. Who's supposed to sign it?
If it only has one line on it, just you.
Chairman, yeah.
Okay. Any other news about our dispatch
No, we got a
center?
big old fire going.
Yeah, you're
Big
going to
old
be
fire.
wearing them radios.
Actually, I have to say our center because it's primarily burning in Montezuma County, or La Plata County, right?
Has the majority of it moved to
Primarily.
La Plata?
It's a little of both, but
Yeah.
since Sunday afternoon, dispatch was overwhelmed with phone calls. I did go in and help them on that, but since then, I think everybody knows there's a fire going, so we've been not having to deal with a lot of those calls.
Does anybody have any updates? Are we going to get an update today on it? Oh, okay, the sheriff will.
So, and then, we also, there's one burning, that can I tell, Sheriff? There's one burning up Highway 145 too, they call that
That
one the
loading
loading
pin.
pin. And then yesterday afternoon, one started in Dolores County, just north of Cajon. And I have no clue how that one's going.
Oh, go ahead. Jay's got some
That
information.
one is at 5 acres, we get confirmation.
5 acres.
Containment and 5 acres,
What was the containment number?
at 5 acres.
That's good.
Dolores, Dove Creek Fire Department and the Pleasant View Fire Department, as well as I think they had a couple of federal engines that helped out on that.
Good.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners, for Lori? Thank you, Lori.
Thank
You just do the best you can with that 0% with Motorola. That could be a
They'll
real.
do it.
Yeah, I'll bet they will too.
Everybody wants their stuff out.
Yeah. Good.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
We'll go
Thanks,
we'll go
Lori.
next on the agenda is the public lands. So,
And public lands, we got word from James this morning that neither Derek or Connie will be here. They're doing their best to send smoke signals, but something about a fire. And also our emergency manager, who's on the agenda, Jim Spratlin, is setting up the Type 2 Incident Command Post to take over at 10 o'clock at the fairground, so he also will not be presenting this morning.
all right, well, I'll tell you what, since we do have them on, I just wanted to make some comments, and maybe the commissioners want to chime in or not, but on public lands. So our Senator Gardner has proposed, and I believe that it's already passed in the Senate, headed to the president's desk. What she said he would sign was the Great Outdoors Act, if I'm correct on that, and it's up to $900 million a year to purchase additional federal lands. And so in Montezuma County, there's actually 120 counties in the 15 most western states where the majority of that land is purchased, if not all of that land. And one of the arguments for the purchase of that land is that the county would receive additional PILT, which is payment in lieu of taxes, which is around, in Montezuma County, it's either $2.13 or $2.16 an acre. What people need to know about that is that that is untrue, because the way that the PILT formula is formulated is it's per capita. And to give you an example, once you meet the cap, then you don't receive any additional PILT funds. So to give you an example is if you have two houses, they're identical, they are for sale, they're worth the same amount of money, and one person lives in one house and 5 people live in the other house. Does the house that the 5 people live in pay more taxes on that house? The answer is no. That's why the PILT formula with per capita is flawed. That's why this Great Outdoors Act, buying up to $900 million a year pieces of property, is flawed. And in the end, it's a net loss to the counties when you buy private property and you take it out of the tax rolls. You will actually put an additional burden on the counties. And so I was hoping that our Forest Service and BLM was here so that they could comment on those two things, because that's exactly what's fixing to happen in these 120 counties. And I want to tell you a fix. If you know, we all love our public lands, and we all don't want to see them shrink. But a commissioner from Oregon in a public lands meeting I was in, participating in Washington, D.C., made a very good comment. He says, I am for you spending the permanent funding of $900 million a year if all the land purchased is east of the Mississippi. Now think about how much sense that makes. That's where all the private land is. So if you want to open up the spaces, because if you was to do that, number one, all of these senators and congressmen that are for this realize that this doesn't harm anything east of the Mississippi. Exactly. So all of a sudden, they would get a little pressure on them that they're not receiving now. Mm-hmm. The second thing is I watched the commissioner debate, and one of the questions, which is very dear to Commissioner Tell, my heart, is RS 2477 roads. And I think that the ongoing theme, I'm just sitting here, I want to educate the candidates for that position. I felt like watching that we are in the biggest fight of our life at this time and point. And we need commissioners that are sitting in these chairs that are willing to roll up their sleeves and fight. Because I want to tell you what, if you don't fight, you're going to lose everything that we've got, and then some. RS 2477 roads are, they say they're complicated. They're really not complicated. There's a law there that tells when they became an RS 2477 sovereign law, and there's a process to take them back. The theme, though, was, well, if it costs too much, what is the cost? You need to make sure that, what are you willing to, how much money are you willing to pay to take those roads back? I would take the word RS 2477 out, and I would put the Second Amendment in. And then I would ask the same question. How much are you willing to keep your Second Amendment rights? How much are you willing to keep your guns? Those roads are extremely important to this community because without being able to travel throughout this community on those RS-277 roads, then the Forest Service, the BLM, is actually one of the most important pieces of property located in Montezuma County. Can you imagine if they was to close the Dolores
Shut 'em all
Norwood
down.
Road, if they were to close all the roads going onto the forest or the BLM, what it would do to this community? It's actually, in my opinion, one of the most important topics in this county because we commingle. What happens on that Forest Service and that BLM is directly affected this county. We'd be like the wagon trains circling around this private property if all of those roads was closed. This is how simple it is. As a county, on county roads, we commissioners are the ones that dictate how much money is spent on a road. If we want to call a road primitive, we don't have to spend a dime. We make that decision. If we want to blade it once a year, which is called a Schedule A that we do on the Forest Service and the BLM, you can give a guy his lunch and you can put him on a grader and he can grade 50 miles in one day because he just got to go one way. There is no requirement of how good that road is graded. So my message to the four candidates, all four candidates, is do not give up on those RS-247 roads. They are critical to what is going to be the future of Montezuma County. And as far as the 17 roads, I want to make a correction. The county did do a letter on the 17 roads. They weren't roads, they were motorcycle trails. That was incorrect. They were 17 motorcycle trails at the Forest Service that have had motorcycles on them for 80, 90 years. And the way that you maintain them is a group of people ride their motorcycles down there with a chainsaw and they cut the trees out of the trail once a year. It's no big deal. Fight for our roads, fight for our Second Amendment if you're a county commissioner candidate, because if you lay back and agree to what our federal lands want, you are in serious trouble and we'll lose all of our rights. I'm off my high horse now.
Well, I want to follow up on one other thing that directly relates to this, and we passed a resolution in this county of a no net loss, and this came about from our federal partners or federal people buying private land, taking private property out of Montezuma County. And we've seen that down in the Canyon of the Ancients National Monument with the Wallace property, with the Lamb House, with several different places down there. We're now seeing it again with the Forest Service up here on the House Creek Road. I think that our commissioners need to stand behind that no net loss and make them go to the House of Representatives at the state capitol, get approval for any purchase of private property, taking it out of the private ownership and into public lands ownership, get approval from that legislature, and then hold fast to your no net loss in Montezuma County. If you're going to buy 150 acres or 117 acres from somebody in Montezuma County, you're going to find 117 acres of Forest Service land that you're going to make available to a private property owner in Montezuma County. And I think that is one way that this county can stand behind this no net loss, where you don't have this continual consumption of private land. And the feds can come out and they can offer these exorbitant. They paid almost $1,800 an acre for that Wallace property in Canyon of the Ancients National Monument. Absolutely outside of any parameters of logic of dollar amounts on good dry land, farmland. Their price, I mean, it's unfair. That land was supposed to go to auction. It didn't go to auction. They did a private treaty with it and bought the land out before anybody could bid on it. I mean, there are a lot of things going on in this county and with our federal government that need to be stopped, looked at, and prevented. This is one way for the county to be able to stand up to the Fed and say, okay, you want to buy 150 acres, 170 acres, 4,500 acres, you're going to make that same amount available to a resident of Montezuma County off the BLM or the Forest Service, and it's going to be an equal trade. No net loss of private property in Montezuma County to the federal lands. Period.
I don't want to take up too much more time
Okay,
either.
I'm sorry.
No. I think it's a great point that Commissioner Ertel is making. I think it's a very important resolution. And the way the law's set up right now is We need the state legislature's support in that. So originally, a long time ago, the United States wasn't allowed to just come and buy land and take it. Most states, including Colorado, said, yes, you can do it. However, they did put a provision in there that says if the county objects to it, then we withdraw our waiver, and you now have to come to us, the state, to get permission to do it. And so by this commission passing that no net loss resolution, that's what has to happen. As soon as we object, the feds cannot buy the land anymore until they get permission from the state. So that's the protection. The state can still do it over the commissioner's objections, but the pressure from us needs to be put on the state. Say, hey, help us out here.
Yeah. So does our resolution have any teeth at all, John? If the House of Representatives approves the Forest Service buying 150 acres and we're saying no net loss, do they then need to come to us and say, okay, we're going to put up 150 acres of...
The teeth it has is it forces the U.S. to get a vote on the House floor to approve it. Those are the teeth. If the state says go ahead, then then it doesn't have teeth. However, there's not a lot of places. In fact, my guess is that Montezuma County is the only state in Colorado that has, the only county in Colorado that has ever done this. The state legislature certainly had never heard of these laws before, and they look at our letters of objection like they're written in Greek and they don't understand them and scratch their heads. And so we try to educate them on that. But that's what the law requires, is that if the county then objects, it throws a monkey wrench into the sail, and it doesn't happen until the U.S. gets permission from the state by a vote.
Okay.
So it does have.
It has some teeth, but
and
we need the
also,
support of the state.
We also just, last week also James has that map that now is going to be fact checked, so those designations will actually be on there, or I guess drawn on there.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right, enough said. Yes. Coroner's report, George Devers.
Let's get on to a lighter topic.
Yeah, let's move on to death.
Morning, George.
Dear Shockey said, let's move on to death.
Well, I can make this pretty quick. I really don't have anything, unless
Yeah.
you guys have anything since last time we spoke.
Have you made any headway with La Plata County on becoming the autopsy center of Southwest Colorado? And
I have not.
nothing.
I have
So
not.
they're going ahead with their whatever plans they've got over there, and they're not.
They're still doing, kind of like last time we talked, still doing the same thing they have been. I emailed Jan. We have talked a couple times on the phone. I briefly asked the question. She says, "Oh, we will." So I don't know what the holdup is. I've just been beating the dead horse with that one. So.
Wow.
I think is when the facility becomes utilized and they start talking about it, it's going to gain interest, and it's just going to naturally come to be what our thought was in the beginning. I think it's just going to take a year.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to go get a couple of double wides over there. They found a cheaper method to get out of Hood's preparation room. I think their county manager is taking a whole different tack, and I think they're going to put their own facility in over there. And I don't think they're ever coming. I've been on it with the commissioner over there. I've been on it with Jan, and I think they're saying, "Now we'll take care of it ourselves. You guys go right ahead and do what you do, and we'll do what we do." So.
And I'm kind of wondering, because you brought it to my attention whenever we spoke a couple times ago, where she said that she refused to come over here. I think that she was doing that kind of pressure in them to go ahead and give her the money. If she wasn't going to come over here, well, if they're either going to be paying the exorbitant amount to Hoods, or they put in their own to start saving money.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Well, I was in your facility. It's a very nice facility.
Thank
Got
you.
it. It's really set up good. Thank you.
Nevertheless, we're still saving money here because we're staying home and we're not
as
sending them
As
out.
long as
So
that pathologist doesn't pull any hinks with you and says, "Oh no, I can't come to Montezuma. I can't come over and do."
Oh, that won't happen.
Yeah, it better not happen.
There's several other options that I have that, if that doesn't, or if that does come up, We did do an autopsy yesterday from, Alex did it, so we got a little bit there.
Good.
And Dolores County, they're 100% coming over here. Of course, that's gonna be saving them
Well,
travel
sure,
and everything.
they'd be crazy for them to go anywhere
So-
else, yeah.
Good.
But
Okay.
Thank you.
It's saving money. you
Oh, no, I know.
It saves $6,000 a year
It's a
anyway.
it's a good deal. I mean, we were gonna buy the building anyway. I just thought it was a way for that to become a revenue generator for you.
Oh, yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
And from what they were saying, it should have been.
Should have been.
Well, we've
Yep.
saved it, so.
If they come
That's the
knocking
best
one
way.
of these days, let me know, would
To-
you?
Will do.
Let me know,
Will
would
do.
you? Yeah.
All right, thank you, George.
Yeah.
Really
All right,
appreciate it.
Thanks, George.
Sheriff's report. Sheriff Nowlan.
Good morning,
Morning.
Steve. Sheriff, I should address you. I'm sorry.
Are you all wireless today? No, no. I got this whole rope here.
Every time we let you play with that rope, somebody gets hurt.
Boy, he said that with authority, didn't he? Jeez, oh. Dang.
You just wait.
I gotta remember how to do this, so.
Yeah, I believe that.
Okay, for our calls for service, the month of May, was 2011. That's increasing still, and it will continue to increase. As you can see, it's in your packet, as well as for the public. We're still dealing with a lot of domestics and disorderly, a lot of violent contacts within people that we're getting called on. Our auto thefts are starting to creep up, as well as other thefts, but we're actually solving a lot of those right after they happen and recovering those vehicles. This is something that is actually happening throughout the state. It's really shot straight up. A lot of it had to do with, the COVID-19 closures and whatnot that had so many people out of work. In fact, a couple of our drug trafficking arrests that have happened in the month of May deal directly with that. It was a way for them to make extra money, is to run drugs. It's sad, but that's the truth. That's something that we're continuing to deal with and work with. The unlawful marijuana cultivation is going to be dealt with. I can't tell the public enough, even those that may be listening, that we're coming, and it's going to get shut down. It's something that's taking a major impact to our residents and our citizens in this county, and it's going to be dealt with pretty quickly. So, okay.
Sheriff, I do want you to know that this board is 100% behind our law enforcement
Thank you.
agencies.
I appreciate that.
And we're not
We need this.
defunding anything.
What's that?
And we're not defunding anything.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope that you've seen, and I always will be fiscally responsible with every dime. And that's the truth.
Steve, I just noticed as you scroll through your
Sure.
list of calls, your business checks, obviously, are security, and then 221 security checks. That seems to be a lot. I mean, that's a bulk of your.
It is.
Bulk of your call,
It
or
is.
not the bulk, but a good part of your calls. Are those calls coming in for people
No,
needing?
those are actively proactive calls that we're putting in there. And that is to actually prevent those thefts and burglaries.
Okay, so that's more coming from you guys.
Because they were closed.
I got you.
Betcha. Because our
Okay.
thefts are going up, we want to make sure that we can check these businesses as much as possible.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you bet. Just to prevent those things.
Yeah.
We'll move into the jail. It's actually doing pretty good. If it'll open up. There we go. This is our transports to date, just to give you an idea of the amount of road time. It's happening. In the month of May, there were 12 adults that were transported, 964 miles, total of 34.5 hours were spent on that.
The cost for that is down here on transport per diem and hotel costs. You can see that we were able to save a lot by just the number of deputies that were used. Unfortunately, when we have juveniles or females, we're going to have 2. It's CYA, okay? And so it's down, but you're going to start to see that creep up now. Now that the courts are starting to open up, we're starting to see a lot more reports so far this month, writs from the district court for us to transport people. So we're taking people up on a trip to DOC to drop them off, get them out of our jail, and then pick up one and take to either the juvenile detention facility in Grand Junction or bring back an adult back to our county jail. So it's going to start picking up a lot more. Unfortunately, as we move into the month of July, we'll start to see more and more of that. We're already starting to see writs from for sentencing from the courts. We have a pretty good plan worked out with the judges that if we can set them apart 7 days, because we only have 6 available holding cells, and this is to make sure we don't have infections or influenza or COVID move into the pods where we have. So they have to be in a quarantine cell for up to 7 days until they're cleared by the nurse and no symptoms, then they're good. But these are people who are sentenced for anywhere from 15 to 30 to 60 up to 90 days in jail. So if we can set them 7 days apart, we can actually continue to keep a cell available for those serious crimes that occur against a person from a Class 3 felony and above. We have 2 worker inmates. Unfortunately, they're in and out every day now, and so they have to have a quarantine cell for themselves because we don't know who they're in contact with and so on and so forth every single day. The others is we had 2 on a suicide watch. One is still on a suicide watch on a major felony case. That person's not going to be bonding out at any time at all. So as soon as that's over with, we can get that person out to clear up a holding cell. We're getting pressure from the other agencies about warrants and stuff, and I understand. But the thing is, though, is that I'm responsible to the people of this county and you to make sure that jail is run right and that we don't have issues in there, especially if we have an infection that spreads. I can't have that. So we've done everything that we can, but those jail numbers are going to start to go up. As you can see, it's pretty much down. We had 43 come in May, in and out on state charges, 13 female and 30 adult out of that. We had a total of 43 confinements in the month of May. I always like to show you this, kind of shows you a day-to-day how many arrests and how many releases are done per day. So you can see they're in and out, they're in and out, they're in and out. That's where, with this COVID-19 nonsense, it makes it difficult to protect against something you can't see. And so having those protocols and procedures in place of utilizing those quarantine cells to make sure, because they're out within 24 hours, sometimes 48 at the most. They're in and out. We're going to start to see that we're going to have to start opening up a lot more, but we have procedures in place. And just to let you know how this is going to range, I'm going to tell you what our schedule is. We have through the 22nd, Class 3 felony arrests and warrants, sentences and remands, as well as writs for sentences will take place until July 1st. And then a lower class felony 6 and higher warrants and arrestees will be accepted into the jail. By August the 1st, we will open up to sentences, remands, writs from the court for sentencing, as well as Class 6 felonies and higher, including misdemeanor warrants and arrestees, mainly domestic violence, those types of situations. Protection orders that are issued for non-alcohol use, which has been our problem throughout the last 3 months with our locals. The thing is that we haven't been accepting those, and that's where it causes the friction. It's like, I understand it, but you can issue them a summons for violating that protection order. They don't need to go to jail, and then they're back out again with another court date. It just keeps that revolving door, and they're involved with people that have contracted the virus, and that's been our biggest concern right there. But it hopefully will start to mellow out and go down. Those that we're getting notices about confirmation of positive are folks that are not here in town, that don't come here and are our arrest clientele. So that's good to see. Those that have been are already past that, so that's starting to go away as well. Dolores County had 3 inmates there, as you can see, for the month of May. They were billed $5,100 for 68 days usage.
Are you fully staffed in the jail, Steve?
Yes,
Are you
sure am.
fully staffed? Good.
Yep.
Okay.
Have been for the last 60 days.
Okay.
And it looks like that's going to remain that way. I did lose one pretrial deputy who's moving back east. That position will be filled on Monday by a detention sergeant, and there's already a replacement detention deputy that'll be hired on the 29th. So we're keeping it up. Okay. This is our DOC holds. As you can see, we've barely been transporting a lot out. We only have 2 of them left in there right now. In fact, they may be gone as of today as I speak. I haven't been able to check to see. The Department of Corrections has been billed $11,360.64 for use of the jail.
Where do we stand with that?
Nothing's changed. We're not taking parole holds.
Not taking parole holds.
These are people that get sentenced from our courts to go to DOC. I mean, we don't have a choice about that. We get them up to DOC.
Mm-hmm. So this is what's been billed out, or our operational expenses anyway, for the month of May. There were no municipal in Dolores, Mancos, or Cortez, of course. I think their municipal court is open now, and they're working things out to try and pick up municipal warrants, 2 or 3, before that actual court begins, so they can get them before the judge, and that alleviates any sentencing. This is what we've collected for the month of May by sheriff's fees. Give you down the total here is $18,453.24. I know that there was communications with the interim chief that I had, Andy Brock, in question to if there was an MOU or anything with between the city of Cortez and the jail, and there hasn't been, and there never has been that I can find, and neither can they. So I'm not sure what that's all about. So
Do we have one with the other municipalities, or?
No, they just know exactly what those fees are and what it's cost. Yeah. So.
Well, it
so long
doesn't seem like it's a problem right now,
No,
does it?
it's
I mean,
not a problem at all. I just don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
And, in the next several months, I don't know. Things are changing over there, so I really don't know.
Well, it's your jail. You got you got one up. So it'd be just
I'm
fine.
It's your hotel.
We're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it that way if we can. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I kind of joked about they could build their own jail.
One thing back on your report, though, that Sheriff, that was,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I do have a question about the horse program. I know the horse program was used in large gatherings and stuff like that. Well, we don't have any large gatherings at this time, so I just wondered where the horse program was. I don't see them anymore, and so I was wondering.
Yeah, they're out. They're actually doing surveillance patrols off and on.
Okay.
Is where they're going. Yeah, they do. They still work them every week. They're out either down in the Carpenter area or up in Dolores, as well as we've had them up on a couple of Forest Service roads, just looking at some of those. They're part of the marijuana enforcement
Okay.
initiative.
Okay.
So
Enough said. All right.
nobody's looking for them. So anyway, so that's good. This is the East Canyon fire. I'm just going to bring up this map to show you what it looks like in through the Elk Stream, and I guess this is Elk Springs here, but Elk Stream is down here lower.
So are the Dodds houses?
County Road 46. These are all private roads in this subdivision. And County Road G3 and 46.1. When the fire blew up, and I'll show you where that began. When it blew up, it threatened this area down here on the southern end of County Road G3 and 46, because it started down a little bit lower here. I'll show you. But the thing is that there are 2 homes up here on 46.1 and 4 down here that were occupied. Those residents were evacuated on Sunday. I ordered an evacuation for them and just a pre-evacuation notice for 46. However, a lot of those residents left voluntarily, which I don't blame them. But they were not threatened at all during that time. But these folks were. The radio tower is this green dot right here where the X is at. That is the main Southwest Communications Tower. And that covers the entire southwestern part of the state and links both 800 digital and VHF transmissions. Okay, this was a #1 priority to protect that tower. It had power. It has power to it, electricity, but it also has a propane backup generator. Okay, as of until yesterday, when it blew up again, this tower was immediately threatened, as well as these residents down here at the end of G.3.
Tower, because we did a tour up there last
That was up
summer.
on Menifee
There's a
with-
pretty big open space around, well, actually, both of those towers,
Mm-hmm.
because we erred and went the wrong
Wrong direction
direction.
the first time, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Now, is that on Menifee? Is that on the top of Menifee?
That is actually on the south side, not on Menifee.
I was
It's the
gonna say,
one.
it
It's
doesn't
the
look-
ridge further to the east.
Yeah, this is a different
Okay,
tower,
so it's-
Jim. Yeah,
okay,
this
I
is
got-
different than
It's
Menifee.
what we call
That's
the
what I-
Lamonte Tower.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So we're over. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's on the
South
east
and
side
east.
of East Canyon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Well,
up on the
That's
ridge.
the one that we made the deal with when we redid that with
Yep.
the TV
Yeah.
outfit.
And so the
Mhm.
Platte County State Patrol,
Yeah.
all of the communications come through this tower and microwaves as well. But it was threatened yesterday morning, and actually, even with all of the airdrops and the ground crews here, with these fire lines and stuff, it came up this draw. It's a little hard to see on this topo map, but everything goes up. I mean, it's pretty much straight up and down on both sides of that ridge, okay? And fire moves a heck of a lot faster uphill than it does down. And that's what the problem was. There was a lot of mitigation work done the 2 days prior around this tower. If that hadn't have happened, we could have lost the whole thing. But there was structural damage done to this, and we lost electrical power to that tower. The generator is working. We have, as of a day and a half ago, we had 10 days that it can sustain itself on that propane generator. The state telecommunications group are setting up repeating towers, as well as doing some type of a workaround with the other towers in the area to take the load off of this so that we don't lose communications. If we lost this tower, then we wouldn't be able to communicate at all. It would just go out. So it would have to be rerouted, and that could take many hours, if at all. So that was saved. The fire is pretty much has burnt everything. This is from actually Sunday. at the end of the day on Sunday and early Monday morning, this this outline of where the fire is at. The tower is up here, but as you can see, it was, with the wind gusts and whatnot, it was actually blowing that fire in many different directions, but most of it to, it would change from coming from the southeast to the south to the southwest. I mean, it was pretty large
Dangerous.
gusts,
That's a
and it was
dangerous fire.
constant. Yeah. The fire started down in this area here where you see this wider line. It contains both BLM and some private land, and it is right on the edge of the Montezuma County, La Plata County line, okay? This edge here shows there's probably about 300 yards into Montezuma County. So the big problem is that we don't know exactly where that lightning strike was at, okay? Somewhere in that area is where it was at that caused this fire. But so long as it's within a mile of public land, then that's where that mutual aid agreement comes into effect with the EFF, okay? So it was both Forest Service, BLM, and State Fire, as well as Mancos Fire with mutual aid from just about every one of the fire districts, Jay's gone, that assisted during that Sunday blow-up. And it was 900 acres as of late Sunday night. It's now up to over 2,700 acres. It's burnt all the way clear down into County Road 105, which is the Cherry Creek Road in La Plata County. This is their east boundary that they're letting this fire stop there and not let it cross. However, it has grown both to the south and to the north especially. It has gone clear up to this area past County Road 46.1. It is actually back up in here in this BLM area on the line, just south of the highway, about half a mile.
What kind of a chance does it have of jumping for 160?
You know, I don't, from seeing it on the ground and what the fire's been doing, I don't know that that's going to happen. They were.
If it did, boy, we could
Oh yeah,
have a
well, then
problem.
we've got a major problem in Montezuma County, and both public and private land, majorly impacted. I don't see that happening. They were, it was a Type 3 team that was in charge of this until 10 o'clock this morning, the Type 2 team. So it's been upgraded to that, and they have the capability of doing a lot more fire control and mitigation and burn backing. Burning that fire line back so that it doesn't encroach toward the highway. There was a major miscommunication through a lot of this in the beginning that both myself and Sheriff Smith were not happy with. And the thing is, though, is that yesterday they said that they wanted Highway 160 closed so that they could start their burn back, burning back from the highway, the south edge of Highway 160 here, where you see that yellow BLM land up there, and burn that back so that it would not have any strength to jump the highway. So everything was done. The highway was closed, impacted a lot of people, okay, from Hesperus to east side of Mancos. And no action was taken by fire to do any burning because the winds were too gusty. Then they said, well, we're going to do it tonight. Well, and then they had problems burning at night. It's like, so it was only closed for about 2 hours. Both myself and Captain Driscoll with the State Patrol and Sean Smith just said, this is nonsense. We're opening the highway. We're not going to do this. And it's not going to be closed. Okay, unless it's absolute that it's going to happen within an hour, then we'll close it. But other than that, it's staying open. So I think that was the right decision, and CDOT was just as upset and confused as everybody. It was just kind of a guess. But I don't foresee that happening anymore. What I am very appreciative of the Type 3 teams is that they have saved every one of those homes up on the ridge. They did.
Good for them.
And it was, there was a heck of a lot of expense on Sunday because of all the airdrops, and has continued every single day. There, up on 46-1, there's a home over here that actually lost a small rafting trailer and another piece of equipment outside, but the home was spared. But the whole thing was painted orange and pink with all the fire retardant that, you know, that, plus they did a lot of mitigation work around those two homes. And I'll tell you, that's the only thing that saved those homes, because when it blew up yesterday, if they hadn't have done that, they'd be gone. It's kind of ironic in a way that when you build a home at the top of a knoll, on top of a ridge where you have two slopes coming up, that's not a fire defensive position to have a home. But I'll tell you, they did a good job. When I evacuated these residents up here on Sunday, and everybody was out, G3 Road was closed to only fire traffic. They failed to tell me, these folks down here at the end, that they had some horses and some pets that they had left behind. I was not happy with that, and I was told about by the fire crew Monday morning that this was up there. So I called these people back, and I took them back up there to get these horses and those animals out of there, and got that done by 10 o'clock yesterday morning. It's not right. I mean, my gosh, we don't want them left up there because they're going to interfere with the firefighting crew, and they could be lost. For what reason? When we could have brought them down. We had plenty of time. So that got taken care of, and I think everybody there learned a very valuable lesson, that we're here to help, and we need to help get things out.
Do you have any expectations for the fire today?
I expect, because it's this way, it is starting to burn over a little bit over here on the north end, right up in here, and down here on the southern end in the 5800 block of County Road 46, right in this draw right here. It's starting to blow over. They put a lot of mitigation work in there as well as airdrops, and they have 2 hotshot crews going in on the southern end, and they're going to cut a fire line on the northern end up here to keep it out of East Canyon. The biggest problem that we have on the East Canyon north end is that, remember, we have 2 separate pipelines that come down and through.
That's our Kinder Morgan pipeline going to
Yeah,
Texas.
one of them is Kinder Morgan, the other one is was it Interstate or Western State or something. And we know where the pipelines are at. The problem is they don't know what the depths are. It could be anywhere from 15 inches to 30 to, they don't know
Probably going to be
exactly.
pretty deep.
Yeah, they don't know.
They're going to be pretty deep.
Well, this is coming from their people yesterday, who said, we don't know exactly what the depth is. So they were hesitant to bring a dozer up in there to prevent hitting a line. But I think it's been worked out and it's been identified that they have a small dozer that they'll be working today, if it's not working already. So that really helps a lot. As soon as I can make sure that this fire is not going to crouch down into anymore on the Montezuma County side and threaten East Canyon, then I'll open County Road 46 residents back up and let them back in on just a pre-evacuation notice if things change. There isn't anything left to burn on the east side of the ridge, already burned. So the fuel there is gone, and that's helping. I don't know what the winds are going to do to this fire today, and that could be a telling story.
It's supposed to be high today, 25 to 35
Yeah, I just looked at
miles
it.
an hour.
You're already, it's,
There is 30 head of cattle that were down here on the southern end of County Road 46, and been in contact with that livestock owner ever since the beginning. And they've moved them from up here in the 6,000 and 7,000 block down to the 5,000 block of 46 Road. That was as of yesterday. And then yesterday morning, when this spot fire was starting to creep down here, if it takes a run, it's going to cut this road in half. So I gave them, I got a hold of them, and they pushed their cattle into the BLM area and left this gate open so that the cows can come up to this first water hole, because there's no water down here on the BLM side. Okay. If it comes to be a problem, they'll gather them up and move them. But right now, it's okay. And they're not in the way of any firefighting apparatus or anything. So the livestock's not threatened. None of these homes are threatened right now. It depends on what the fire does today. Okay. That's pretty much what I got.
All right. Any questions, commissioners?
Good luck.
Yeah. Well, the loading pin fire, I've been in touch with the actual IC person with the Forest Service there just before I walked in here this morning. And it has grown to about 30 acres. They are going to, I do have them in contact with the private landowner to the south, and I think that's Bayless. And the property owner to the north, we're trying to locate that person up on top of the mesa, above Stoner, where the fire is going to end up having to go, and they can stop it on both sides of that.
Good.
And so far, there are no homes or structures that are threatened within that 30 acres. But they're having a tough time trying to get that fire where it stays within the boundaries. That's the biggest problem. And on the hillside, it's not easy to try and keep that contained. So that's where the problems have been. And I'm hoping that they'll be able to get that taken care of. And I'm headed to the Public Lands Office now so I can deal with that, and then back over with the Type 2 team that's taking over on East Canyon fire. And I think things will be a whole lot easier to work with now.
We received a message from an email actually from the San Juan Basin Public Health, and it's about wildfire smoke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting because please don't wear a mask to stop the smoke, because it won't, but it will stop COVID-19. It's exactly what they're saying.
You know, you're going to have smoke problems at night and in the morning
Uh-huh.
until the sun comes up and it heats the ground, and it'll start to
Lift it out of there.
It'll be that way, but we're hoping that it'll continue to go down. Okay.
All right, thank you,
Thanks,
Sheriff. All right, next up, we have Will First and Clarissa. Are you gonna? I'll let him talk. Okay, let him talk until he can. All right, how are you doing, DA? Did you hear us? Are you there with us?
Oh, I'm
This is
gonna
kind
have
of
to-
DA we like. We can't hear him.
He's muted.
Can you? Will, I think you're muted right now.
Am I unmuted now?
There we go. We can hear you now.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I apologize. I'm out of pocket visiting my daughter in Minnesota, so I appreciate the Zoom invite. Thanks, Shaq, for setting that up.
Absolutely.
So a few things have happened since the last time we spoke. The first is that the Supreme Court in Colorado extended the prohibition on jury trials until August 6th. That originally was June, then July, now August. So absent a district receiving a variance, which a district, I think Mesa County right now is seeking a variance where they've completely renovated their courthouse. There's plexiglass everywhere. They are trying to adhere to the mandates of social distancing and PPE protocol, all while conducting a jury trial, which seems like a nightmare to me. Chief Judge Walker does not seem inclined to seek a waiver, although we've not had a discussion on that. It affects districts that have major trials that are up against speedy trial. As I mentioned before, someone charged with a crime has by statute, the right to have a jury trial within 6 months of his or her demand. And with these continuances, there is no COVID-19 good cause exception in the rule or statute. And so a lot of districts are worried that their first-degree murder cases or their sex assault cases are going to be dismissed by virtue of speedy trial violations in light of these jury trial rules or rules against jury trials while this health crisis is ongoing. We have a few trials that that keep getting kicked and continued because of the new rules by the Supreme Court, but nothing in our estimation that threatens the vitality of that prosecution. So I don't think we're going to be seeking a variance, although certainly that may come if this extension on jury trials or prohibition on jury trials gets extended again. We're still appearing by WebEx by and large for hearings. We've had some hearings where we would prefer to have in-person testimony, but it gets complicated when the defense attorney is appearing by WebEx, but our folks are in court, and there's always some technological glitch that seems to plague our hearings. So we continue to try to work those out with the courts, but it's been certainly a challenge with the process, and we are hopeful that we can get those issues either resolved technically, or these rules against jury trials, et cetera, are changed. And as we all know, the legislature is making massive cuts across the board in a lot of our programs, while the bulk of our budget as district attorneys are shouldered by you all, by Montezuma and Dolores County budgets. We have had the benefit in the past of a few state grants and federal grants, namely our fellowship program. It's a wonderful program that was set up for the rural districts that was subsidized by the state as well as the Department of Ag and the University of Colorado and Denver University law schools, where we would get a first-year law student, a recently graduated law student who's expressed an interest in the area and the field of criminal prosecution. We would hire them on a temporary basis, and their salary was more or less completely subsidized for 12 months. That program has gone away, and it's unfortunate. We had a young man who was from the area, who was interested in being a prosecutor and likely staying one here in the area. But we've had to tell this young man that we're not able to hire you this year based upon the fellowship money drying up. We're still trying to make some last-ditch efforts with the schools to see if they on their own would be able to underwrite or at least subsidize some of their time here so that we could continue that program. We have historically hired 2 fellows in the past who stayed on to work beyond their time as fellows, and it's been a very successful program for us, and so we're hopeful that'll come back. The other budget cut that we're experiencing is with our adult diversion program. We've been able historically to offer for a number of offenses that are drug and alcohol related, dispositions that avoid a criminal conviction, that follow the spirit of diversion, that is, low-risk offenders are better off being diverted or removed from the criminal justice system and given offense-specific treatment and counseling, things like that. And we've had great success with that program. We enjoy a success rate in the 90%, and we've been able to pay for treatment, alcohol treatment, et cetera, at the recovery center with these correctional treatment dollars. Our adult diversion program that was historically worth anywhere between $50,000 and $75,000 is now gone. So we are not going to be seeing that money this year, which is really unfortunate, because I think that if the legislature is concerned about overcrowding of jails and sentencing reforms and things like that are, I think consequences of not having a proactive approach toward recidivism and crime, then adult diversion is the program to keep. We're happy to say that juvenile diversion remains. We have not been notified of any cut in funding for that, but it's a shame that diversion program has been cut. So those are the 2 major cuts that we're experiencing at the DA's office. I think you guys might recall some of that information about the fellowship program during our budget pitch, but it's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to enjoy free labor, but free labor from someone who is willing and wanting to make this county his or her home and potentially be a lifelong resident thereafter. So we'll hope for the best moving forward, but beyond that, things are progressing back to normalcy. We have a schedule that is not doesn't include all of our employees back in the office at the same time, has kind of a rotating schedule so that we're not overcrowding the office. And it's been a good chance to kind of revisit our policy as it applies to just health generally. I think that many offices can attest to the negative effect of when someone is feeling kind of sick. I'm not talking about COVID-19 here necessarily, but just with the flu or a cold, their kid is sick from daycare, and then they come to work having some symptoms, but feeling like it's a positive thing to do to come to work and brave through their symptoms and then infect the whole office. So I can tell you that working remotely, I think, has had some positive effect on people's health. People aren't getting sick and not having a lot of those types of sick days that come with office environments. But, we are moving back toward normalcy, and July 6th was our everyone return to work day, but now with August 6th being our new jury trial date, we're going to relook at that, and Matt, Clarissa, and I are going to have some discussions on when lawyers should be encouraged to go back to court. There was an article recently about a DA's office in California that was stricken by COVID when they returned to the courtroom prematurely, and the proximity we all have with folks who are coming from various places and are from all walks of life. The contagion factor is pretty high in that confined courtroom. So we are doing what we can to mitigate that danger moving forward. Finally, I just wanted to give you kind of a little bit of gossip, if you will, that while there's not a rule to this effect yet, the Supreme Court is going to be looking at perpetual social distancing, or at least a lot of new protocol will be required of courthouses moving forward. The folks at the state level are saying that they anticipate a big spike, a big second spike, that if there's business to be done, that we should be doing it between August and October, and that, after that time, there's going to be likely a cause for concern and reason to return to some of these more, restrictive appearances and protocols coming from the governor's office, et cetera. So I just wanted to put that on your plates as well, and while everyone in our office and county has their own, opinions of the virus and how to best address it, we are kind of getting our marching orders from the Supreme Court and from our chief judge, and I just wanted to convey to you what is being said at those levels. I welcome any questions you guys have, and appreciate again the opportunity to appear by Zoom.
Any questions, commissioners of Will?
When, Will, on that gossip issue, is that really in the works? Other than just gossip, are they going to move forward with it, or do they really have any intent of a time frame?
So right now, the courts have adopted the requirement for masks, the requirement that if you're not a family unit or kind of a group that came in together, you are required to maintain 6-foot social distances. That is going to move forward as part of any kind of jury trial protocol, which is going to be a very strange and potentially perilous, requirement when the credibility of witnesses are, gleaned by how they look and how they appear and how they testify. And if you're wearing a mask, those types of emotions and credibility indicators are going to be lost. And so I envision a series of appellate cases coming from that kind of jury trial being implemented. It was just kind of a comment made that just get used to PPE and get used to social distancing, because that is going to be likely a perpetual part of our court experience moving forward. Other than that, I don't have a definitive time frame on what the Supreme Court will be doing moving forward with jury trials, et cetera. But, we might see witnesses encased in a box of plexiglass or something to prevent, to adhere to PPE requirements, but at the same time, at least have them visible to our jurors. So it's a dynamic and interesting time, to say the least.
Are you allowed to wear the mask that you robbed the bank with when you do your appearance at the courthouse?
Yeah, they're encouraged. We do mask lineups, twice a day to see whose mask of choice was seen at the Laura State Bank the night before. But yeah, definitely.
All right. Commissioners, any
I
additional
don't- I don't
questions for
have
Will? Clarissa, is there anything that you want to correct that Will said?
Good question.
She said you did good, Will.
All right. Thanks, boss.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks.
All right. See you guys.
See you later.
That reminded me that with the Shaq and Will there, it reminded me of the dating game, and they were the bachelors.
Let's get 'em
Which one they
quiet.
were going to pick?
Which one were you looking at?
Well, you both had features that were
I'm not even sure what
interesting.
you're talking about, 'cause I've never seen
You've never
that
heard of the
show.
dating game where they have
Oh,
three
yeah.
contestants?
You
and-
stayed
and-
watching way too
And they
much
got the
TV.
girl behind the
This was
wall or
years
the
ago.
guy behind the wall, and they're asking them questions around the corner. And
You guys watched way too much TV.
that was a long time ago.
He
my
probably
friend.
has all of the movies in his house, and he's just saying that. No,
You're good.
no, you're good. Thank you for showing up. So, emergency manager report.
Again, he is
up
taking
the
care of
Type
the,
2 team.
setting up the Type 2 team out at the fairgrounds as we speak, so.
And then there's no sense we couldn't finish the rest of our reports.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do our
We
reports.
go at it
Okay,
over.
so
I'll go get James while John.
Okay,
oh, wait, do I need-
we're going to go to the county attorney report, John Baxter.
Last week, we had a hearing in Denver via WebEx on our Walmart case. So Walmart was trying to join all of the all the counties that are involved in this lawsuit, which are about half the counties in Colorado, make us all go to Arapahoe County District Court. And so we won that hearing, barely. It was a 3-3 vote by the judges to not make us all join, and they needed a majority. So
Wow.
we won.
Wow.
It'll
By
s-
default, kind of, huh?
It'll stay here and in the other 30 or so counties, which will definitely be a big money saver for us. The word Montezuma County was thrown out there a number of times during that hearing, in the sense that the pleading I filed, which maybe got some traction, was basically just complaining about how we are the actually farthest county from Arapahoe County in the state. And that is difficult. And if in fact we have to go up there for a week or two, we're talking about hotel expenses, witness expenses, those types of things. And even if even if we're still in the current situation that we are right now, which is all video, because that was obviously working against us in that argument, it's still a lot of time commitment for us to sit through a 2-week trial instead of a 2-day trial, because we're involved with all the other counties if they all get consolidated. So anyway, we're past that, and we won that. And speaking of time commitment, last week, our Director of Health and myself spent a significant amount of time on, I want to say Thursday, I can't remember exactly which day it was, with our insurance attorneys preparing for employment, a dispute we have with a former employee that has a pending suit against us, and we have those depositions coming up this week, which is going to be, our Director of Health is mandated to take the entire day, I think it's Friday, doing depositions. I'm going to probably lose at least half a day of my own, so these are pretty big time commitments. The CARES Act money, the funding, is that your part or my part, Jack?
At this point, it's your part.
Okay.
It's a legal idea.
I spoke about the CARES Act last time, and I realized that I stepped on Shaq's feet. Apologies,
They're
Mr.
big
Powers.
feet, they can take a lot.
So it might be premature, so I'll just kind of throw it out there and let you guys decide. We have an IGA. I'm okay with it. I've edited it a couple times. The town of Manx's attorney is okay with it. I haven't seen the okay by email from the city of Cortez or the town of Dolores yet. I'd be wasting my time having you all sign this if they want edits and want it changed. So if you want, we put it off till next week.
We have until the end of the month, right?
We do.
7th or the 9th.
Right.
But it's,
I don't think that we ought to drag our feet.
no, but it's really important that, this is what this is a big topic when it comes to the counties and so at our CCI meetings. And is if we do not have an agreement between all four, they make the decision for us.
Right.
And that is not what we want. So we need to make sure if there's any kind of,
I think we have it finalized, but we just need their okay from
Do they have it
Cortez
in their hands? Have
They
they
do.
all been presented this?
They do. The latest they all got it was yesterday.
Okay, so.
so has it been worked out about the money?
Yes.
Where it's allocated?
We're basically
to each?
doing it per cap.
Per cap, yeah.
And
Just
we'll,
as I presented last week, the 36,510 off the top goes to Montezuma County to reimburse for what we gave Southwest Health Systems for the purchase of their BD Max analyzer. The rest is broke down per capita.
Okay.
So it's pretty well spelled out.
and what we did change from, I think we did not have this in there last week, but what we have changed is we're going to have the money directly distributed to each entity. So Montezuma County we're not going to be a pass-through. We're going to get our money. Mangus will get their money. Dolores will get their money. Cortez will
But
get
didn't
their
they say
money.
it's easier if we are the pass-through? Oh, actually, it would be easier that way, wouldn't it?
Right, because then they're responsible for their own reporting, correct?
Oh, that's right, we would have
Yeah,
to be the
we-
ones,
yeah,
that's right.
We
that's what
didn't
they
want to
said.
be responsible
Right,
for all of the recording of all of the expenditures. That way it makes them,
They have to do their own.
they have
Yeah.
to do their own.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? We just said that that's in the agreement that Montezuma County would be reimbursed for the testing machine that was purchased by Southwest Memorial Hospital. But can you answer the question, how many of the businesses that have taken the money that the county for the loan are located in a municipality?
I'd have to go back and look at what each one of those were, but some of them are located in municipalities.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I received in an email opt-in letter from the city of Cortez. Did you get that, Shaq?
When did you get that?
I think I got it yesterday morning.
So then you're only missing one then.
Dolores, town of Dolores, then is the only one left, yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe I've seen.
Good.
Cortez's
They may
So
have
Dolores
just sent
is-
it to you. Yeah.
So that would be.
Well, that's good, we
that's
just
a
got, there's
call
just
from
one
Ken
municipality and
Charles.
we're all in agreement.
I think get a hold of
Ken Charles.
Ken Charles and say, Ken, it's time to jump.
Yeah, I'll get over there tomorrow and
Yeah.
I'll visit with Ken.
Yeah, because we
Good.
don't,
Don't want to let this slide, no.
We know.
no.
I'll drive over there tomorrow.
Good.
okay. Anything else,
Why don't you
Mr.
run
Baxter?
over there tomorrow and visit with
I also drafted this resolution about the national popular vote, and if you all want, I can go over that today, or did you want some time?
Yeah, would you?
Yep. And maybe we can either, got it. So it's pretty short, and essentially, I was actually pretty uninformed when it came to all this until I saw it, but I guess last year, we, as in the state of Colorado, passed a law stating, and I think it was with 12 other states at the time, now 13, basically stating that, and this is called Senate Bill 19042, basically stating that Colorado's electoral votes will go to the candidate with the most popular votes, which whether or not you believe in the electoral system or not, kind of takes away Colorado's power. As far as right now, within the state, it is a popular vote.
Oh, we need to change where it says whereas, that should be Montezuma, we missed one.
Did I?
Yeah,
Right
up
there.
above. Yep. Second
Yeah.
paragraph from the bottom.
I don't know why it didn't catch that one. So, and in Mesa County is where this thing originated. So Mesa County proposed they're collecting signatures. That's the number of signatures they say are required to put it on the ballot to allow this to go to voters on whether or not we join this agreement with the other states or not.
And it did,
So the referendum had enough signatures,
Yeah.
correct? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So it will be on the ballot.
All right. So then this is a moot resolution. We don't need to do this. This is just encouraging
because the
people to sign that.
referendum was already-
Well, I thought that the resolution was about,
The resolution basically just encourages citizens to sign it so that it'll make it onto the ballot.
But
We can
Well, it's
redraft
already-
it to
it's
say
already been
support
it's
it.
successful, yeah.
I know, it was success, it was,
So it'll be
Made it.
on the November ballot.
So this is a moot point.
All right.
We don't need to do that. If you want to.
well, why did they want to, so Mesa County is the one that reached out to us.
Yep.
Mhm.
I wonder why they wanted us to do this after the fact.
When did this come from Mesa County? Is
Last
this
week.
Just last week?
Yeah?
Really?
Whoa, Shaq,
Too fast.
go back one more, because it had some language in
We,
it.
we can reach out and ask them why, because the referendum, I know that the signatures that they had to get.
Can you go
the-
back one, Shaq, or maybe you shrunk it down because it had up, I'm sorry,
Pick a direction.
that way. Keep, keep going. Let's hold off. Is that okay, commissioners, until we?
Yeah, we
Fine
could,
by
we
me.
still,
And-
we could do it.
We
If
could
it's
always
still
even
valid,
redraft
anytime.
something that says, we encourage people to vote in the November election, instead of saying, we encourage people to sign this petition so that it will make it onto the ballot.
Because it did make it.
Yeah, so what we need is that we support the electoral
Electoral college process.
college process
I mean-
versus the,
Right. Right now, what this Senate bill does, at least as it appears to me, is that even if the popular vote in Colorado votes for candidate A, if nationally candidate B gets more votes, Colorado's electoral votes would go to Colorado
Automatically go
candidate
to-
B, which
I don't think.
deprives Colorado popular
It
votes.
gives all the election power to Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and Miami.
Well-
The biggest cities.
And it also lets the biggest cities, it lets both coastlines in America control the outcomes of every election.
Yeah.
It gives them the populist power to control every majority. Mob rule is what it is. It becomes mob rule.
Which I think is a different even argument, whether you're for or against the Electoral College. Why would you give Colorado's electoral votes away? I mean, they're decided by a popular vote.
That's
Colorado's
right.
electoral
Right.
votes are decided by a popular vote within Colorado.
Right.
And
So why do you throw that out the window and send them down the road to somebody that's popular in some other part of the country? I know it. Well, it just gives you mob rule is what it is.
We can wait, reach back
yeah,
out. and then
yeah,
we'll
we
find-
can wait. But, back to the courthouse, it's a question for John. I know that in the auctioneer business, that you read people's faces, and you have to do that within seconds. So I would think that in a court of law, and I'm not a lawyer, but you like to be able to read the faces on the jury, and the vice versa with whoever the defendant is or the victim. How will we have a court that is fair and balanced if you take away that tool?
I hold that same feeling, those same sentiments. I guess it's individual. Maybe not everybody has those same feelings. I think you need to be able to, for me, I need to be able to see people. Maybe not everybody does. I do think we're going to run into problems. I mean, I think you heard Mr. Furs express some of those same concerns. I don't know what they're thinking the solution will be.
I say we lower the rent on our courthouse. If our current Mr. Walker doesn't want to open up for business, then or let's You see, are you
Sure,
seeing my point?
yeah.
I mean, we
The
spent
building
$10 million.
sitting
for-
out there vacant, doing nothing.
And so he's following state guidelines, state directives that come from the state Supreme Court. I didn't hear Mr. Furr say this. Pueblo, I believe, did get a variance granted. They're starting to have jury trials, I think in July. And so they say that they came up with guidelines and they're going to be able to socially distance, and they were granted a variance. And the Colorado Supreme Court is encouraging local judicial districts to apply for variances and come up with plans to start jury trials. I think Pueblo did get one passed already, and they're the only ones that already have, as far as to my knowledge.
So would that come from the judge? or Judge
You have
Walker,
no power
or-
over that, right?
Yeah.
It's going to have to come from the judicial department.
But we just had a presentation from the sheriff, and he had said several warning signs. They're stealing more cars. There's more crime. Did he not just say that?
Yeah.
Are those two guys talking to each other? Because the way that the judicial system works is all of those people have to work together.
Well,
I mean,
I
does,
don't know.
I
Do
guess
we-
we could ask to
do we
see
have-
if he's anticipating to move forward with a variance. I mean, I think that's worth an ask. I realize that we don't have any authority or power over that, but, I mean, if they are granting them.
Well,
unless
I
he has
wonder,
to
does the
have-
variance come from CDPHE? Would that variance come from CDPHE, just like our variance that we requested?
So, without knowing 100% of what I'm talking about, no.
No.
I think that you say, this is what we plan on doing. We've consulted with our health department, with our local doctors. This is what's going to be safe. Colorado Supreme Court grant this variance for us, and the Colorado Supreme Court
Oh.
signs
Okay,
off on it.
okay, so-
And so whether or not they
All right.
use CDPHE to consult with,
But they could
I don't
do
think
that.
so. They're their own entity. They're their own department. They're
But-
not part of the executive branch. So I think that the Colorado Supreme Court will grant or deny a variance request that comes from the 22nd Judicial District.
I feel like we need.
well-behaved virus I've ever seen that
So-
respects the rule of law.
So,
I-
is it okay to ask John to reach out to Judge Walker?
to
see
Judge
if we're
Walker,
gonna-
I
Yes,
think
that's
so.
what the
to
question we need to know where
anticipate
he's.
a variance?
To start planning to
Get a hold of Eric and see,
Yeah.
have him get with Judge Walker and see
I
if
can
we
reach out
get
to
that
Eric, probably.
courthouse
Makes-
open, yeah.
We would like to know if they're not seeking the variance, we'd like to know why.
Okay.
I think we deserve that when we're sitting on a $10 million building that we
It's our
built for
It's
it.
our building, yeah, and it's sitting there gathering dust. And we're still paying for it.
I think the state should allow us to charge rent.
I do too. I think they need a buyback program.
Wow, I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that.
All right, anything else, John, now that we
Uh,
calmed this conversation down? Huh? Well, it's just frustrating. It's easy to, there's an easy road and a hard road.
Yeah.
I see so many people
Sure,
take the easy road.
Yep.
Nobody wants to jump on and do the right thing. It just drives me nuts.
I'm also taking a lot of Rob Englehart's time on the PAX case as well. We've got a lot going on in that case as far as interrogatories and things like that. But I don't have anything else to report.
All right, thank you, John. We got James Dietrich, Natural Resources and Public Lands Report.
Morning, James.
Good morning.
James, right off the bat, before you start with your program, there was a question. It was actually a direct question about the path to Mesa Verde to the 4 candidates, and so could you fill us in about how many millions, which outfit it is that's wanting to put up the money for the bike path from Mancos to Mesa Verde?
So we're working with the Central Federal Lands Highway Division on that, and they're the organization that's got the dollars for it. We're looking at about 7.8 million, and of course that's would require some matching money from the community, roughly about $1 million in matching funds. So right now we've got a grant that came in, the Colorado the Beautiful grant, which is $193,000. That grant will go towards match on that $1 million. So for the Mancos side, it's all within the Central Federal Highways Division at this point. And they will take over the remaining design. They will do the contracting, and they will also do the oversight of the construction. So what will be left for the county to do would be to administer the paperwork, make sure the invoices are correctly paid, and then submit all that paperwork back to the Central Federal Lands Highway Division. God, big titles. And so it would be a reimbursable basis for that. And so that would be our role.
Say that ours was so you said was $1 million to get the $7 million.
That's correct.
And does that mean it has to be $1 million cash, or is there in kind? So we've already knocked it down from $1 million to $800,000. You said if it's $195,000.
Right.
Is there a way without that actually being money, currency? Is there in kind or grants that actually could make up that?
So we can always look for more grants, and that's what I'm working on that right now. So any grant that we can find that will go to match against that, we'll apply for, because that is probably our best route. If we buy any right-of-way, for example, things like that can be used as a match. And there is an area right there by the intersection of Business 160 and 160 that we could potentially buy some right-of-way. I think we're going to need some right-of-way in there, and it's not a lot, but we'll have some there. And I believe that any of the relocation of like utilities, things like that, can also be applied as match.
Okay, so bottom line is that it is a possibility of the 800,000 for the 7 million is that there could be grants that could make up 80% of that, 50.
That's correct. Yes.
It could actually make up 100% of it, couldn't it?
Yeah, if you match everything together correctly, you may be able to get 100%.
So because there's a lot of businessmen that are vying for these seats, so let's think of it as a business.
Certainly. And
the business, the way that you would look at it is there's a possibility, let's just say that it's 200,000, that for $200,000 of taxpayer money, which the way that needs to be clarified is this. The money's already here. It's not like you're going out to the taxpayer and you're saying, hey, we want to raise your taxes to do this. It's already right there. I mean, it's already been collected, those taxes. So it's not like raising the taxes are already there. But say for $200,000 or $100,000, you could get $7 million. Would that be a correct way of saying it?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and
that would be
we want to
smart
keep after those grants every place we could possibly raise some more money to apply.
So I hope that the
to
new
our match.
commissioners, if they are business minded, would realize that for maybe 200,000, 100,000, you can get 7 million.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
And that will be a permanent part of Montezuma County's future transportation. It will be a permanent part of Highway 160.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Okay. Okay. So let's go back to. I took a field trip with the McRack this week, and we went out and visited that property that's off of County Road M, which abuts the BLM parcel. And so the access road into that is not looking very good at all.
I think, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Dietrich. I believe we're thinking about having an executive session to discuss
Two
this.
separate properties, so what he's discussing is a different property.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, and so in a nutshell, what it came down to is it just did not look like it was a very good access. It was going to go right through people's front yard, about 4 houses, and I mean it felt like you're driving right down their driveway. And in fact, we did. We took a wrong turn, and unfortunately the gentleman we met at the end of the driveway was very nice, and he helped us find the right route. But it was a very steep and unimproved road that went into that property. So our assessment was we ought to probably look for a better property somewhere else. Obviously if you sunk enough money into it, you can engineer a road through about anything. But it was a very steep route. So.
And just to give an overview of the people that are watching this on YouTube, this is how many acres is this piece of BLM?
2,000?
Well, there were
or 3,000 total.
The BLM parcel we're trying to get access to?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say that's about 4,000 acres altogether in there.
And so for you to give an overview of what he's talking about is there's 4,000 acres that is between Summit Lake, Highway 160 that the public is landlocked, and
Correct.
the public cannot use. So you have this 4,000 acres, and what you're talking about is the county is trying to figure out a way, which the recommendations for that property is for horses and bikes and hikers only. I mean, no bikes, horses, hikers only, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Equestrian and pedestrian is it,
All right.
yes.
All right, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, okay, and so this property, I mean, it is a very, it's a unique piece of property. I think that we could get our money back out of it if we went and bought it and everything, but again, that access road in there is really, really difficult. And it would take a lot to make that accessible to horse trailers. So again, we're going to reposition and look at lower hanging fruit and see if we can't find something else around that same area. And we think we've got something that, and we'll talk about it later on, that may also work. So it was very valuable to go out there and visit that property. You know, things look really good when you're looking at it two-dimensionally on a map. When you get out there and walk around, it's a whole different ball game.
Well, I noticed
It
on
was
that
really
map, the
worth it.
contour lines were really close together on a
It-
bunch of that. They were
It
really
is,
close together.
Yeah.
It's pretty steep.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, you can build a road anywhere if
Oh,
you
sure.
want to spend
Depends
enough money
how
on
much-
it, but
how
the
much money you
access,
got, yeah.
the access is going to be pretty tough.
And you know, honestly, the worst part about it was driving through people's driveway to get up into it. And, you know, looking on the map, it just doesn't feel like it's that close when you're out there. You just feel like you're standing in their yard, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd be opening it up to another situation like we have down there.
Down
for,
there at Yucca House.
Yucca House.
We don't need another one of those deals.
That's right, yeah. So anyway, we'll continue looking at other parcels, and we've got something else in mind. So.
Yeah. Good.
Aside from that, I spent some time this last week kind of wrapping up, you know, all the reimbursement requests for CDOT on the Paz Mesa Verde, and got all that submitted. They're trying to get to they're at the end of their fiscal year, so they're asking for all those to be turned in. And so that was that kind of completed the rest of my week. And we're moving on now to the next phase in that portion of it. We got an extension on that contract, which puts us through December. So that should allow us just enough time to get our LiDAR work and everything done on the Cortez side.
And on the path to Mesa Verde, I think there's been $500,000 that's been expended. Is that correct?
Well, yes. County
and-
funds, we've expended 40,000.
Right, and so how much is the CDOT expended on the path to Mesa Verde?
Ooh, I don't
Weren't they
know.
the biggest, at least 200,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
I know that I was in a meeting with, I think all of us were with CDOT here a year ago, and they said, we don't ever put that much money in a project without having it completed.
That's right, yeah.
All right.
So, and so that was pretty much my week last week. The rest of the week, I kind of was being a personal caretaker for my wife, who's kind of recovering remarkably well, and I won't be able to outrun her for long. So.
Good.
So I would like to bring up something, and this is because your title is Natural Resources Planning and Public Lands. So I'm going to go to the public, or the planning part, and I'd like to talk to you about the airport. So the airport, I've got several pieces of information about the airport. So if you own an airplane today, and you wanted to fill it up per gallon of aviation fuel, it would cost you $5.87 in Cortez. If you fill that airplane up in Nuclear, it costs you $3.80. If you fill that airplane up in Moab's airport, it costs you $3.54. Page, it would cost you $2.83 a gallon of aviation fuel. Grand Canyon, $2.76 a gallon. And Delta, $3.35 a gallon. Why would that be important that our fuel, aviation fuel, is twice as expensive than all these other communities around us? Well, I can tell you why, because you're going to fly your
Well,
airplane.
you to Nuclear or Moab or anywhere else. Yeah,
Right.
if you know that.
So, why?
Why is our fuel that much more expensive?
That's a good question.
Cortez
Who has
Flying
the
Service, the
fuel?
last I knew Cortez
Which is
Flying
a question
Service.
that we can ask the council whenever we can get
Right,
a meeting set
right.
up with them. That's just,
They're not bidding it out. They're not putting that out for bid for the fuel. I mean, I get my fuel actually from from Monticello. So if I'm not for sure where the aviation fuel is made, but that is a big deal. That if you can't, there's right now. This is why this is important. Is they're doing an RFP or an RFQ for the business at the airport because we have the Cortez flying service. I think it's the only one, and
That's the FBO
yeah,
operator.
they said they're going to be advertising it, but it's so important that that airport has the lowest prices in the area. Fuel, however they're, manage it. You do that and you will grow the airport. And I don't think that there's ever been talks with the county or the city that ever talked about those things. I don't fly an airplane, but I know that my gosh, in an airplane from here to Moab is nothing.
No, that's
So-
half hour ride, yeah. I think the city, Mr. Machin, who is their manager at the Cortez Airport, I think we were told earlier this year that he's retiring sometime this year or sometime soon. So I think when we meet in that work session with the city of Cortez, I think this will be good topic of discussion and who they see plan on filling that position down there, how they plan to go about it, and see what they're looking for in a new airport manager down there. I think it'd be a real good time to discuss that and let our views be known on how we'd like to see that growth down there of our airport and the business that it can generate and bring into the county. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I just wanted that on the back, in planning, the airport is such a critical infrastructure, and, they go by this per capita, which they don't go by the per capita, because Alamosa County has 16,000 people, Montezuma County has 28,000 people, and in the last 10 years, Alamosa County has received $22 million in funding for their airport. And again, as a businessman, being in the county commissioner's seat, 95% of the funds come from the federal government. It is one of the biggest, it's one of their most priority programs. And then the county or the airport or the city, whoever runs the airport is responsible for 5. And let's use numbers again instead of fake numbers that we see throughout this United States. If you wanted $1 million improvement, it would cost you $50,000. If you wanted a $10 million improvement, it would cost you $500,000. As a businessman, that seems like a very wise decision to make. So
What was their improvement this year? They just finished an improvement.
about 300,000 or 400,000.
something like that on a taxiway or something. I think it was resurfacing a taxiway or something. I'm not positive, but I think that's what it was.
But see, the problem is and that actually what I think was a grant. I'm not for sure. I think that was a grant through the CARES Act.
Yeah, I
If
couldn't
I'm-
tell you. I know they did some improvements down there, but I couldn't tell you where the funding came from.
But it goes back to this: is if you don't ask for it, if you don't ask for the $1 million improvement or the $2 million
You're not going to
improvement,
get it.
you're not going to get it.
So Shaq, that's a discussion point for us for the,
For when we have our board
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, James.
Okay.
Any other commissioners?
I have, go ahead.
Sorry. go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I just want to let the commissioners know, I'll continue to work with the MCRAC group. We're going to try to get out and do a couple more field trips. We got 2 more ideas kind of cooking out there. One of them was the Big Rock area, the easement for the rafters. But there's also, area that as I've explained, there's access for fishermen along the river there. And the landowner is willing to work with us and try to negotiate something. He just wants some protection for his property and such. So we'll continue to work and go out and do field trips for the rest of the summer with the MCRAC. I think there's a lot of value to getting out there on the ground and looking at things. So there's that, and then also there's a notion the BLM has. So they receive a lot of calls about where to go to do some target practicing. And, all the BLM land in the lower portion of the county is closed to target practice. There's just literally no place left to go. And during the summertime, of course, you can go up, Forest Service has got adequate places. But the BLM they receive calls on that all the time, and that's one of the things I receive calls on quite often also. And so rather than sending them down County Road 43 to go target practice, because there was no place left, we're really trying to come up with an alternative, some kind of some place that the BLM can help set up a shooting range, and we can have it kind of centrally located if possible. But anyway, just one common place. And the Mancos landfill has been brought up as a possible solution for that. So we'll go take a look at that.
And you might also, James, we've got one down at our landfill that's set up there by the sheriff's department down with their. It may be time to maybe take a look at a cooperative arrangement with the sheriff's department and that shooting. I mean, that's a perfect place down there where they've got it down there at the landfill. I mean,
sure, and that's been brought up too.
I think one of the bigger points that they were talking about was the distance, because if you can have, I think they said up to 1,000 yards, then they can actually have
more competitive events and such.
Competitions or something.
Competitions.
Yeah.
So it becomes a bigger, it's a
okay.
bigger event. It's not just like what you or I might do to go plinking. It's actually a long range.
So
go ahead.
well, would this be similar to what
Cameo.
they did in at Palisade?
That cameo
Yeah.
shooting range with on the BLM land up there. They did
Yeah,
that.
I'm
That's a
familiar
big.
with that one.
That's a $6 or $7 million shoot. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. Mesa County and the BLM and I think maybe Parks and Wildlife were all involved in getting that cameo shooting range. But
And Parks and Wildlife is usually involved.
With the Parks and Wildlife, they were on that tour with us also. BLM, CPW, ourselves, the McGracks, a couple of those people.
Because that was funded
But
heavily
that
by
did come up.
right?
CPW does do some of
Is
the
there a
funding,
place
yes.
big enough on this property that could be implemented also? Because they're 1,000 yards is a long way.
That is. Yeah.
You're almost a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
So one other location that's been brought up is the Tozier Pit, and of course we don't have access perfected for that, which could be a complication. But it is another potential site, an appropriate site for that type of use. So anyway, we'll discuss that. We've got 3 locations that have been brought forward, and we'll just try to evaluate each one.
Right. Any other questions? Thank you. We hope your wife gets to feeling better.
Oh yeah, she's feeling good enough to run after me already. So.
Oh, good. That's good.
The only other thing that I add.
Running after you and not away from you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm thrilled about that actually. So we'll try to keep it that way.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now that let's take the mood down into a negative, and we'll get the county administrator's report.
Okay, first of all, on behalf of Jonathan Parker and the Senior Center, he needs his contract signed. He just sent this to me yesterday. I did forward it to all of you guys to get funding for the next fiscal year for the Senior Center to receive the $52,000 from AAA to help offset some of the costs going forward with the Senior Center.
So we would need a motion.
We do, and I looked at it as well.
Yeah.
I did not read the entire 63 pages, but I skimmed it looking for things that I thought were important, and it's okay.
Standard operating procedure.
Contract,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I would take that down just a little bit. Yeah, I would like to move that the Montezuma County Senior Services enter into a contractual agreement with San Juan Basin Area Agency on Aging for their contract and the maximum amount of $52,000.
Second.
Motion is second to approve a contract with the San Juan Basin Area Agency on Aging. The term is going to be from 4/20/20, 24/20 to 09/30/21, and for the Montezuma County Senior Service Center located 107 North Chestnut, Cortez, Colorado, in the amount of $52,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 The next thing I have is we received a letter of resignation for one of the fair board positions. from Connie Watkins. So she is resigning her position on the Fair Board. We do have an alternate that can fill that place. The alternate's name is Lindsay Gash. Lindsay Gash would move in as the alternate. So I guess I need a decision from the BOCC if they would like to advertise for another alternate or not. And I guess we need a motion to put Lindsay Gash in, and she is the alternate.
And you participated in that Fair Board, right?
Don't we always have an alternate with them
That,
all the
that's
time
become,
anyway?
that's become a new position that we
Just recently.
instituted this last year.
So the alternate can step in and
Right,
then
and
there's
that's a-
no disruption in what they have to do.
Right,
Right.
So we would just have to advertise for the alternate, correct?
Correct.
yeah.
Mhm.
If we choose to do so, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Fair Board was compliant with that. I think they feel like that's a good way to go. So I would move that we accept Lindsay Gash as a Montezuma County Fair Board member, moving from alternate position into an active Fair Board member, and that we advertise for an alternate to the Fair Board to replace her position.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve Lindsay Gash
Yes.
to the, as a full-time member of the Montezuma County Fair Board. Also in that motion for Commissioner Tell was to advertise for a new Fair Board member or an alternate to the Fair Board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you, Connie Watkins, for
Yeah.
being a volunteer for the Fair Board in the last couple of years. We really appreciate your services.
She's leaving a big gap from what I heard in the meeting last night. They're gonna be tough, so, yeah.
And that brings me to my next report. There was a Fair Board meeting last night discussing exactly how Fair goes forward, what it's going to look like, and the governor's draft orders came out yesterday, so that's gonna be, we had a 3-hour meeting and successfully postponed it to another meeting, so I feel like it was a success. Because the draft guidance won't be finalized till Friday. They're taking it, they're taking public input at the state level. I think, there's pretty good resolve in the room that we're gonna put on a fair as normal as possible. Some people have already said that they're backing out, but we're gonna do everything we can to be as normal as we can, and I think that was the main consensus in the room last night. And so, we'll listen to what comes down from the state, but there'll be another meeting that we'll follow up on next week, to try and it's getting down to the 11th hour for banging out details on an event
Yeah,
that size,
yes,
so.
yes it is.
So looking at that draft, I was reading it last night on the way home. If I read that right, it's not an occupancy, it's gonna be then to a number of people, is that correct?
Well, it's
So it
size
says
of the
blank
building.
percent of
Yeah, it's over
occupancy
11
or
over
this
11,000
number, depending
square
on
feet.
what's fewer.
And
Blank
it's,
percent or a number, depending on what's fewer.
well, I thought we met the maximum of what it was, and then there's one for indoor and outdoor, so we're doing both.
Correct.
Correct.
So how do we
So
make
it allows us, right now, again, in the draft stages, it allows quite a bit of leniency. And I told the Fair Board last night, and I'll remind the commission, that when they did this for the gyms a couple of weeks ago, the final guidance after they got public input ended up being less restrictive than their original draft. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping this will follow that same pattern. But we will know by Friday on that. We'll have another Fair Board meeting next week, and then we'll see how that progresses. But my friends at CDPHE, Joyce Humiston, spoke to the multi-agency coordination group last week, and she feels that her nursing home group is having to treat the residents like prisoners, even though they've committed no crime. So she reached out to the multi-agency coordination group and asked if we would help to write, well, our part as the county to help write a variance to CDPHE. I said, we'd be happy to do that and to work with her on that. And so she began the process of reaching out to CDPHE, and she was told by the department not to write a variance. They're not even gonna look at it. They won't consider it. They're not doing any variances for long-term assisted living care facilities at all. And so I'm not sure what the next course of action is, but I do know that the Fourth Amendment guarantees citizens of this country the right to petition their governors for a redress of grievances. And so that is a constitutional right to which she's entitled. And furthermore, she runs the only group of nursing homes in the state that has not had one resident, not one, contract this virus. And so I'm not sure what we can do on behalf. I will at least be writing a letter to CDPHE to express my frustration. And if the board would like, I'll have that ready for board signature next Tuesday.
Absolutely.
So is that just, so that there again, she has to go through a separate variance for herself?
No, they won't even consider a variance
No,
for
no,
long-term care facilities.
Yeah.
They won't even look at it. Which, as far as I can tell, our government is obligated by the Constitution to listen to our grievances with our government.
Except when we're in a declared emergency,
Executive
Commissioner Shack.
order.
Declared emergencies seem to alleviate some of our compliances with other documents that govern us. And,
If that in fact is true, that CDPHE will consider it, the redress is the courts
yeah, so,
for them.
and by the time you mess with it, yeah,
Then
you're
it's gonna
just,
be open up.
yeah, you're
But we can
just.
still send a letter.
Yeah.
I think a letter's
States are-
appropriate, Shack. I think a very stern letter to CDPHE is.
And maybe she just needs to make some pickets with signs for her residents, so they can hold signs. And then
For
when they
a
get
protest nursing home.
I think, yeah, have a protest. I think that's what we're gonna do at the county fair. I think it's going to be a protest county fair. And when you protest, all bets are off. You can gather as many people as you want. You don't have to be masked. You don't have to do social distancing, and you can stay out there for as long as you want. So I think it's a very simple solution to a complicated problem, is that we have a county fair protest during our 4 days at the county fair, coupled with a concert and beef or livestock sale, and there's going to be a lot of protesting going on out there. But I'm being facetious about that, but it seems to me like there's rules. The rules seem to vary a great deal depending upon the class and caliber of people that are participating in an event.
Well, did you guys discuss that last night? Because with that over 11,000 square feet, which I think we comply
Oh, yeah.
with all of those, that's a pretty good number, which would
Yeah,
probably take care of the
yeah,
biggest part of all of our fair, wouldn't it?
I think the fair board is becoming very comfortable with being able to handle the numbers of people at given events and stay
Yeah.
within the parameters of what's being presented to them at this time.
Even in the draft.
They're waiting to see the final, and they do have to start making a decision pretty soon, because we're 6 weeks away from that county fair. And we went through the list of the exhibits and the events that have been canceled. There have been some that have been canceled because of
People dropping
senior
out.
citizens doing stuff in like the open class, and it was all heavily involved with senior citizens in both the judging and the participation, and they've told Kathy Marler that they weren't going to do it, so they've dropped that. So we went. There was a long process going through, and I'm going to tell you, the myriad of events that go on at that county fair out there over a 4-day period is staggering. That I have more admiration for that fair board and the people that are putting on that county fair than I've ever had in my life, because it is a daunting task, and they've got their heads right down to the deal, and they're gonna make sure a county fair comes off out there. And I'm proud of that board. I think they're doing a great job, and they're going to see to it that they're going to put on a county fair, and it's going to be, to me, it looks like to me on the front end, it's going to be a fairly normal county fair with all the events and activities, or most, I won't say all, but most of the events and activities that you can come to expect from what our county fair has been in the past. And I'll tell you, I got a lot of admiration for that board and what they're doing and how
So
they're going about
Did
it.
they have any recommendations or comments that they were gonna, because Friday is the last day, right? That they can comment? Or-
I sent them the links so they can
Okay.
make their comments.
So they can make
Yeah.
their comments.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just, when you do the letter back to, for Joyce, or in support of what she's wanting to do, would you put in there that Montezuma County is not in a state of emergency?
Yeah, yeah,
Do we-
exactly.
Okay, you know, I
We're not
understand.
in a
but they-
declared state, that's
but we
right.
are not in
we
a
rescinded that.
declared state of emergency. Well, we are for a fire, but
But not
actually,
for-
that's in La Plata County.
Yeah.
We're not in a declared state of emergency.
Not a
And
health-
that needs to
health
be
thing, yeah.
very clear.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll make sure that that
Yeah,
verbiage
we-
is
Yeah.
included in there. And I think that concludes my report until I add something later.
It's a miracle.
Interrupt you.
I'm going to add something. I forgot to mention that I thought we were doing this today, but I don't know. But we don't have to do it at all anymore because the Ute Mountain Ute Rodeo applied for a liquor license. They canceled.
They did. I was in contact with Bentley Colbert yesterday afternoon, and I know they were having a board meeting last night, and they were going to make a decision. He and I went over a number of the aspects and the financial, and with their carnival person pulled out and said they could not make it, and that was like a $26,000 hit to their whole lot. And so I think as they started stacking things up and looking at it, it was just not going to be financially and probably otherwise feasible for them to make that an event. So they did vote to cancel it, huh?
I just received an email from our clerk's office
Gotcha.
about the liquor license saying
Then
Ute
that-
Mountain Ute
then that-
canceled, so
then
don't worry
I'm
about the
sure-
liquor license.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So I'm sure
they-
they'll be coming forward with a public
Because
statement
They
today.
had stated they were gonna postpone it, which it would have been
Yeah.
going on.
It was
last
supposed to
week.
go in on the third week in August is when they had it planned, was
August 20th.
So it's-
to redo.
It's
But
now done.
but when they lost the carnival and that stuff, it really kind of threw a monkey wrench in them that I think financially it just couldn't
Sure.
happen for them. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I
sad
just said
that, you know, whoever thinks that the COVID would go away is not going to go away. Whoever thinks that it's not a form of flu, I mean, it's
It's
just,
not the end of the world.
it's not the end of the world. And someday we're going to wake up and realize we can still shake hands,
Yeah.
hug each other. And, because if we can't do that, it's just ridiculous. Using fear to
Amen.
make people make some very unwise decisions. It's sad. Anyway, Commissioner report.
Shaq about covered it for me. I was in that meeting with the Fair Board last night, and that's the only meeting I've attended in this last week, and just very proud of that board and very proud of what they're going to attempt to do for Montezuma County in the last week in July and first part of August. They've got a great agenda. They've got a concert going. They're going to have demolition derby. They're going to have all the fair events. Going to have a live auction with their cattle. CSU, I will have to make this comment. CSU, our extension agent and our employee that works there with the 4-H children, they're under CSU's guidelines are very important and very stringent with our extension agent and the 4-H people. So there's going to be some checks and balances, but I think it's all going to work out for the good when it's all said and done. But they're doing this very cautiously because I think CSU has made it very abundantly clear that they expect them to abide by whatever restrictions or guidelines they have. So they're a little bit different than the Fair Board's attitude in some of those restrictions, but I think it'll all get worked out.
They don't even know what those guidelines are till the end of the week.
Yeah, and then, right, and they don't know what they are until the end of the week, so.
But again, Andrea works for us, so it can't we give her direction that whatever.
I think, Larry Don, that's where that kind of position gets confused because she is over the 4-H kids and the 4-H programs, and that is a direct tied to CSU.
To
So,
CSU,
yes, she
yeah.
is our employee, but the job she's doing is tied at the hip with CSU and the 4-H program. So she's a bit twixt and torn
She's
because
stuck
she.
right in the middle.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah,
she's-
but again,
but-
so say that, they make a drug, they charge a lot of money for the drug, and then they make a generic drug and it's a quarter of the price.
Sure.
So why does it have to be called 4-H? Why can't it be called
Well,
5-H?
and-
Why can't it be called
and-
1-H?
and Larry,
We
don't-
mimic what they did.
Yeah.
We
No,
make the same drug, but we do it
And I think they have got it at heart to do for these 4-H kids and make sure they get to show their stuff, do their stuff, get evaluated, get judged on it.
And then to move to the state level.
And also may have to look at different things and say, okay, these kids are going to be doing it, but they may not be doing it under the banner of 4-H.
That's what I'm.
Yeah, so I think they're all open to finding avenues to make it work best for the community, the kids, the people that are involved. But I think CSU they've got a pretty tight grip on that. And well, it's Mr. Felson's employer. I mean, he's employed by them, and Andrea is tied at the hip with him because she's running 4-H, and 4-H is totally CSU, and whatever CSU says is what 4-H does. So it's. But I think I don't want to put a pall on it, but I think everything will get worked out, and I think it'll all come to fruition and have a good county fair. At least it looks like it from here. So.
I just, one final point that needs to be made is that CSU works for us.
Yeah.
We don't work for CSU.
Yeah.
They're in our building. We're not in their building. I mean, I can make all these comparisons that in the end, they're the ones that's working for us, which is this community. They're working for this community and not the other way around. So I just want that point to be made.
Did we, did they send us, or have we lost our second extension?
July the
Oh,
3rd. July the 3rd will be his official retirement day, and Tom will leave the 3rd of July, and then hopefully we'll be able to start talking with CSU about a replacement for him. That should be the next order of business.
And my report is going to be extremely short now because we've discussed every place I was already at this week. The only thing I will add is that County Road M property, the gnats are so bad that if you went out there without any kind of bug screen on, you couldn't go
Eat you alive,
15
huh?
feet before you were
Oh, really?
looking for a place to dive into the dirt. So it was pretty miserable.
To take care of your gnats today.
Yeah, well, it was blowing that day also. So I don't have anything else other than I forgot to ask James about the Shaq's favorite people, CDPHE, and how we're faring on the property south of town at the M&M. So I'll catch up to that later.
Okay.
And mine, I did attend the CCI meeting with you as well. Lots of voting going on. Some of the votes went the way that Montezuma County wanted, and some of them didn't. And that's just, I could talk about that further. But one thing, though, I would like to bring up I was asked by some community members, is the fireworks. And your take on the fireworks. I don't know if you're willing to talk about the fireworks, how important it is or not important.
I'll just be very clear about this, and I cannot condemn the city for making their decision. Part of that devolves back on us because we made a decision earlier in the year not to send letter requests out to the businesses in Cortez and Montezuma County for donations for money to buy the fireworks. Since we didn't do that, our coffers are fairly meager right now, and the city, if the city would have said, yeah, we want to have a fireworks show and we want to do it on the 4th of July, it would have behooved them to find about $8,000 worth of money to buy the pyrotechnics to do that, because we didn't go to the businesses and did. So it's kind of a two-way street here. We made the choice not to go ask the businesses to donate because we didn't feel like many of the businesses in our county. There's some big businesses that have done really well, but they're not usually the ones that donate to us. They're the difficult ones to get to support us in this. It's always our small
corporate.
Yeah, it's always our small business people that support us, and they're the ones that have been hurt the worst. So I'm just going to kind of stay neutral on it. I'd love to do it, and it's a great way to end the day of 4th of July with that show in the park, and it's a good time. But I'm also in a place that I can't straight-faced ask the city or somebody else to come up with $8,000 to buy the rest of the fireworks to do it, and that's what it would take. So,
All right.
so it's
So
one of those.
so they cancel it basically because of fiscal responsibility to
I don't know. I wasn't privy to the conversation, Jim. The Mr. Brooks, who's their director of their marketing and activities of the city, said that they discussed it with different agencies and different entities and then made the decision. So I don't know who that was or what their discussions were about, but it sounded like they had talked to more than one person about it and decided it just wasn't going to be a go this year. I do, however, think that if the golf course, I've talked with the pro at the golf course, and if they continue to let them run, they're going to have the Firecracker Golf Tournament on the 4th of July. And I asked him, I said, are you planning to still have the Pinto Bean Golf Tournament? And he says, as far as he can tell, they're planning to have the Pinto Bean Golf Tournament. And if they do, and the Tanner family that sponsors that tournament and sponsors the fireworks show at that tournament, then we will have a Pinto Bean Golf Tournament and a fireworks show at that tournament. So that we can maybe look forward to that.
The city, and I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know what the excuse was to not have the fireworks, but we need to let it be clear. The city actually on sales tax is up $322,000 for the year. They're not lower, they're
agree.
up.
Well, you look at the
$322,000.
businesses that have been operating during this COVID, Walmart and the hardware stores and the grocery stores and the liquor stores and the pot shops. How else could you have your sales tax revenue be up in a down period like this without those businesses doing a land office business out there? And they have been. I mean, the ones that have been open have been making beaucoup of money.
You know, I would like to, a lot of people can't figure out the budget, but the way that if the city, can have a valid point of saying that the revenues are down is the way that you do a budget is the year before you take an estimated guess of how much money you think you're going to bring in, right? So that is a guess. Let me repeat that. That is a guess. So they take an educated guess, and then if you do not meet that, then you have the argument to saying, well, we have a budget shortfall because you didn't meet the estimated guess. However, the numbers that matter is how much you took in the year before and how much you're taking in currently.
Right.
Those numbers don't lie. Your estimated guess is only a guess and is not a valid point to say that you're not meeting your budget goals. Use the actual dollars coming in and going out, and that's how you come up with the right number if you're behind or ahead. Public comment. Is there anybody that would like to talk to the county commissioners before we adjourn?
I don't think we're going to adjourn. We can't adjourn, right? Or
Did we want to
Oh.
go to lunch first or do the executive session first to discuss the purchase?
it's 1:30.
It needs to be at 1:30. Okay, well then we better.
We
just
can do it at any
adjourn-
time.
we'll just adjourn
We
for
don't
now.
have to do it.
Jim has someone coming.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right, well then let's recess for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all.